Good evening and welcome. This is the September 24th, 2025 public hearing of the Land Use Commission. The City Code directs this body to hear applications for map and text amendments, special uses, including plan developments, zoning relief, and appeals from decisions of the zoning administrator, as well as to make recommendations regarding the city's long-term planning goals and objectives. Depending on the type of matter, this commission will either make a final determination or send its recommendation to the City Council. Ms. Jones, would you call the roll?
All right. Commissioner Aravallo?
Here.
Commissioner Berlin?
Here.
Commissioner Harris-Ferry?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Mabadi?
Here.
Commissioner Mangum? Commissioner Merdinchev?
Here.
Commissioner Puctel?
Here.
Chair Lindwall.
Here. With 7 members present, we have a quorum. Also present tonight from city staff are Neighborhood and Land Use Planner Megan Jones, Development Supervisor, Services Supervisor Jeremiah Bebo, Planning Manager Liz Williams, Community Development Director Sarah Flax, and Assistant City Attorney Brian George. This is a formal hearing, and there are rules that govern our proceedings. Most importantly, only one person speaks at a time so that all testimony may be accurately recorded. Anyone who wishes to address the commission regarding any matter on tonight's agenda will have the opportunity to do so at the appropriate time. Our procedure is to hear from staff on the documents on file and then receive testimony and other evidence from the applicant or appellant. Applicants are asked to limit their initial presentation to 20 minutes if that time is sufficient to fully introduce their project. Although we are somewhat flexible on time, there's no reason to take longer than necessary. Following the applicant's presentation, the commissioners may ask questions about the proposal and standards for approval. The applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to commissioner questions. After that, persons wishing to make a statement regarding the matter will have a chance to do so. Any person with a legal interest in property located within the defined notification requirements may present evidence, reasonably question witnesses, or seek a continuance of the hearing. In the interest of hearing from everyone who wishes to address the cases before us, we ask each speaker to limit their testimony to 3 minutes unless a request for additional speaking time has been received. The applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to questions. With respect to this evening's case, a request for additional speaking time has been received from the Hartwood Center, and I've granted their request for 10 minutes to make their presentation. I'd also like to note that if others who have spoken before you have essentially made the points you wanted to make, you can just say that I agree with the previous speakers, and that's perfectly fine, and we will certainly take that into consideration. I would like to remind everyone to focus their testimony on the application that is before us this evening and the special use standards that the Land Use Commission must consider in making our recommendations to the City Council. When all supporting and opposing testimony and statements have been heard, the applicant or appellant will be given the opportunity for rebuttal or a closing statement. Then the commission will close the record and begin deliberations to consider the standards. The commission will make formal findings of fact based on the testimony and evidence presented, guided by the standards, the commissioner's knowledge of the community, and the recommendations of staff. All testimony is taken under oath. Although we do not apply the strict rules of evidence, please limit your testimony to the proposal as it relates to the standards contained in the zoning ordinance and corresponding staff memorandum. When testifying, please state your name and address for the record and sign in on the provided public comment sheet. If you have materials that you wish to present to commissioners, please provide them to staff for distribution. Our meetings are audio and video recorded. Please make sure that you're at a microphone when asking questions or making statements so that you can be properly recorded. All proceedings are subject to broadcast at a later date. Any matter not concluded at tonight's hearing will be continued to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Okay, is the applicant for Popeyes here? Okay, thank you. There's one item on our agenda this evening, and I guess next, if you plan on speaking on a matter before the commission tonight, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings? Okay, thank you. All right, with that, who is going to, oh, actually, first we have the minutes to approve. And we have a number of sets of minutes to approve. The first is the minutes for May 21st, 2025. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move.
Approval? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any corrections or changes? I think we have to take a roll call vote on these, I believe, do we not?
There's no one that's.
I think I had one correction.
What?
I just had one correction in
Okay.
it. It said in there at some place that I stressed the importance of supporting the museum community. What I actually stressed was the importance of not overly committing anything to the museum committee without seeing more information.
Okay, do you remember where that is?
If you want, I don't want to hold up the proceedings. I can find it and tell you in a minute.
All right, well, I guess, so there is a change that will need to be made there. All right, I guess what, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay, anyone who was not here?
I abstain.
You
I was
abstain, all
absent.
right. Okay, the next set of minutes are the minutes of May 28th, 2025. Do I have a motion for those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of May 28th.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion or corrections? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think everybody was here that time. Okay, the next set of minutes are from the July 9th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from July 9th, 25.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I have two minor changes. Basically, both on page 1 and then on page 2, we have the motion and the action, the vote before the discussion of the item. So I would suggest that for the final approved version, those be, they be moved to after the discussion. So actually, that relates to the special use permit. I think it just addresses the special use permit for 2900 Central Street. So if you just would make that change. And then there was a text amendment. It also then appears with respect to the text amendment, it's just the vote was in the wrong spot. It should come after the standards. Okay, the next set of minutes is July 23rd, 2025.
Did we vote on those?
We didn't.
I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I think that one I have to abstain because I was not present at that meeting. Okay. Next are the July 23rd, 2025 minutes.
I move to approve the July 23rd, 25 minutes.
Second.
Okay, all right. I have just a couple of changes. On the commissioners, members present, you have me listed as a commissioner. In the beginning, I think you meant to make me the chair. I believe that's all I had. So all those in favor of that set of minutes? Aye.
Aye.
And
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. And Max, you were not here either, it looks like.
I reviewed the recording.
Okay. All right. And moving on, we have the August 13th, 2025 minutes.
I move to approve the August 13th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any changes, corrections, edits? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
I found my correction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. On the very first page of the meeting minutes for the 21st, May 21st, on the first full page. Wait, I just
Chapter
scrolled. Sorry.
2.
Yeah, sorry, no, where did it just go? I'm sorry. I just saw it. Yeah, on the page 2, on the first page of the May 21st, the first full page halfway down, where it says, in the arts and culture section, Commissioner Berlin emphasized the importance of supporting Evanston's museum community. At the risk of sounding like a horrible human, what I actually said was we should not overcommit, because there was something very specific in that draft, and I thought we should just indicate that we would look into things like that rather than guarantee things like that.
Okay. Thank you. And then the last. The final set of minutes are from August 27th. I think they're the last set of minutes. 2025.
I move to approve the August 27th.
Oh, Chair, sorry, I don't think we got a vote for the
Oh, I'm
13th
sorry.
minutes.
Moving
Oh,
too quickly.
Sorry, that's probably my fault.
All those in favor of approval of the July 23rd minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I thought we did, because
Yeah.
you abstained.
We did.
Anyway,
The August 13th one to vote.
yes. Oh, the August 13th we were supposed to vote on?
Vote on that one, yeah.
Okay, that's the one we vote on. I'm sorry. All right, so the August 13th minutes, we have a motion to approve those minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 And then-
Abstain.
You abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. All right. Finally, moving on to the August 27th, 2025 minutes. Do we
I
have
move to approve the August 27th, 2025 minutes.
a second?
I second.
Okay. I have actually a number of corrections. They're on page 2 of the minutes. They're just kind of as a spacing issue under the public testimony in that first paragraph. Also on page 6 of the minutes, there are several places in the third paragraph and the last paragraph, Carrie Dixon's name is misspelled. So that correction can be made, and the same thing happens on the top of page 7. And then there also, again, is a spacing issue on page 11 of 16 where we're reviewing the standards for approval. I have no issue with the text, but the text is a little wonky. Okay, I think. And then finally, under the new business, the major variation for 2102 grant in the second paragraph. The project is at 2102 Grant and not at 3503 Central. So I think that concludes the changes that I saw. Anyone have anything else? Okay, if not, all in favor of approving that set of minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, all right, with 2 abstentions. All right. Okay, that then brings us to the new business, the special use at 1826 to 30 Dempster Street. Who's going to read this into the record?
I've got that. Thank you, Chair. We've got Kareem Punja of Amana Holdings, who is the applicant, requests a special use for a Type 2 restaurant in order to operate a new Popeyes Louisiana chicken within an existing building in the C1 commercial district. 2 other applications had previously been approved for this property and under the same applicant earlier this year. One was for an administrative review use for a Type 2 restaurant, and one was for a permitted use as a Type 1 restaurant. Both of those approvals rather have since been rescinded at the request of the applicant. In the C1 district, Type 2 restaurants may be approved by the zoning administrator through the administrative review use process. However, those applications may be deferred to the special use process at the zoning administrator's discretion. At the request of the applicant, this application before the Land Use Commission tonight has been deferred as a special use and will be reviewed against those special use standards. The Land Use Commission makes a recommendation to the City Council, who will ultimately be the determining body for this case in accordance with Section 6-3-5 of the Evanston zoning ordinance.
Can I ask a question of staff before we start? What is the reason why the decision was made to defer this case to the Land Use Commission rather than doing the administrative process?
Yeah, it was at the request of the applicant, and I obliged.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, with that, I would like to invite the applicant up to make his presentation.
Okay, to start. Hello, my name is Kareem Punja. Thank you, Chair and Commission members, for allowing me this opportunity. I'm here to present the opportunity for 1826 to 30 Dempster for use of a currently vacant building to occupy a portion of that for Popeyes as a Type 2 restaurant. If we can go to the next slide. Can I control it? Okay. Okay, thank you. So just wanted to share a few slides that just kind of explain, our reasoning for why we wanted to do this. Just for some background, the Popeyes brand has been around for over 50 years, and we have, my family and I have been operators within the brand for over 40 years. My father, before me, has been in the system since the 1980s. We believe that we believe that this was a good opportunity for this location. The brand had helped us identify locations in the Chicagoland area that would potentially be a good fit. And that was really kind of missing in the area of a pocket for Popeyes. And so when we had identified a location such as this, we submitted it to the brand for their review to get their perspective and their input. And they have validated that they believe that this would, potentially be an opportunity that could work. And we believe that not only would this allow us an opportunity to fill a vacant space that's currently there in Evanston, but also it would allow for us to generate some additional tax revenue for the city, along with creating jobs for people that we could hire within the restaurant, along with the neighboring space. Again, I think, I think I hit on some of these points here. So what we tried to do is we wanted to make sure, as we think about how we position for this restaurant, we wanted to be cognizant of the area around us, which is why we decided that as we look for a location here, we would do a location without a drive-through. We wanted to be mindful of traffic and other concerns like that. So we felt an inline location would serve the needs, given that on this corridor, there's, a bunch of different fast food restaurants there, McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin', and a variety of other ones, Starbucks. So we felt that this is an area where people come to for food, therefore this would be potentially a good fit for that. I mentioned some background on myself. We've been with the brand for over 40 years, my family and I. We have consistently maintained excellent records with the brand. We've maintained an A status to show that we run, good operations and have maintained a good relationship with the brand. And in fact, I think I mentioned previously that I am from the North Shore, very familiar with Evanston, spent a lot of time at Evanston growing up. My mom was a nurse at St. Francis Hospital here for over 30 years. So I was often, in the car as my father was dropping her on and off to work. So we spent a lot of time in the city. So very familiar with Evanston. We also wanted to share some examples because I think there was some confusion as to what type of restaurant, we were looking to open up. There was, even though we had kind of stated that there was no drive-through, I think there were still concerns that we were planning on doing a drive-through. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that we're not. So it's an inline location. These are just some sample renderings that we asked the brand to help us with to depict kind of what it would look like. So again, it's an inline space. We would just be set within that current space that's there on the right, closest to Dempster and Dodge. The interior would have about 8 to 10 seats is kind of what we anticipate, along with the the restrooms there, and then as you enter, you could see it's going to be slightly somewhat similar to this is kind of how we're thinking about it, but basically the headlines are around 8 to 10 seats. Some kiosks to allow folks who walk in to just place their order, and then they can pick them up at the counter. This is a better imaging. You can kind of see what the renderings look like of the kiosk. And then some operational things, as I mentioned. Typically, and again, this isn't the exact layout. This just kind of walks through the operational flow. People would come in to the restaurant. They would go to the counter to order, or they could order at the kiosk at their convenience. And then they would pick up their food and they could sit at the table to eat, or they can, carry their food out to go. There would be, options for them for however they chose to dine. In terms of the compliance measures, some of the things that we received in terms of the special use requirements, some of them were we would have to maintain a restricted hours of operation. So, most of our restaurants stay open till 1 a.m. To handle, delivery and things like that. We were asked to follow a requirement of until 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and closing at 9 p.m. on Sundays, which we have agreed to in line with the COO requirements. Deliveries would occur in the rear alley or in the through the parking lot, but not during peak hours. So we would inform the delivery drivers of that. And employees would be asked, we would secure some off-site parking for the employees that would choose to drive in to work. And we would also put some signage up in the lot for anyone that is picking up their food, just to have like some limitations to make sure that there's regular flow through the lot itself and doesn't create any issues for ingress or degress. No trees will be removed as a part of any construction, and all the plans would be submitted and approved through the city. Thank you so much for your time.
Questions from commissioners? A few questions. All right. Commissioner Mambadi. Yeah, go ahead. Stay up.
Hi. So you had mentioned that there was a search that was done to find locations. Can you describe to me what that criteria is for finding a location for Popeyes?
Yeah, so typically we look for where you're at least 1.5 miles away from the next closest location. But again, it varies depending on like density of the city, right? So sometimes like if you're in, the heart of the city, and there's a lot more density there, the mileage, distance can be, less or greater. So typically, that's probably one of the main things you look at. And then you want to make sure you have a location that has appropriate visibility that could sustain the business itself.
What about traffic count, income demographics, and things of that sort?
We don't, at least I don't have any expertise in that to look into that. So once I find a site that, I think kind of makes sense to me in terms of the distance that I mentioned earlier, I submit it to the brand. They run their analysis on it.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. You mentioned something about the frequency of deliveries. Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Yeah. So we get deliveries of our from Cisco Foods, which delivers our basically our food that comes in. So they deliver 1 to 2 times a week. It just depends on the volume of the restaurant. So in most situations, it's once a week that they deliver the food.
Okay. And you mentioned something about off-site parking. Can you elaborate on what that means, what you're planning on doing?
So we don't have a plan yet of where we would go. We've started to talk to a few different folks around the area to see I think the Valley parking lot was one of the options that was given, and then there was a few others that we were looking at as well. So we know that we can secure parking for employees somewhere around there. So we believe we feel comfortable with that. And majority of our employees typically they don't typically drive in, except usually the restaurant manager. Most of our employees usually take public transportation.
I see. My last question is, with regard to Popeyes as a franchise, do any of them sell liquor anywhere in the United States?
No,
Okay.
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Merichev.
It's my understanding that you are owner of the whole property. So the one that you're using now and the one that will stay empty.
Yes, that's correct. And thank you for calling that. I should have mentioned that. So our plan is to purchase the entire property. And one of the spaces, the one closest to Dempster and Dodge, would be used for a Popeyes. And then the adjacent space or spaces would be available for lease to find the appropriate tenant there.
So you don't have any, let's call it any idea what will happen with the empty space. I'm asking this question because we are now considering your request for Popeyes, but without knowing the next door,
Yeah.
some of the considerations are really difficult for us.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, it's, just, being very transparent, right? I mean, it's difficult to know what we would do with the space because, us buying the space in large part was to having the Popeyes, right? So once we have, a strong concept like a Popeyes there, it makes it easier to lease the space next door because then, that location would know that, hey, there's going to be foot traffic here. It makes the space stronger and more viable for them. When we had initially started this process, we actually did have our broker find people who were interested. So there was the one that had the strongest interest and was, we had an LOI from, was actually Kumon Tutoring. So the plan was we would have the tutoring spot and we would be next to them. But, unfortunately, the process has taken quite some time and we told them we would reach back out to them once we have some determination. But there's other concepts like a drop-off, dry cleaning. Another one that inquired about it was it's not Salvation Army, but it's like where you drop off for donations of clothing, those types of places. We've had a few requests of things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
With respect to parking, do the corporate, Popeyes corporate have any standards or guidelines for how much parking they typically require? I understand we're not dealing with a drive-through
Exactly.
situation, but and I understand that you know, the building is compliant as far as parking goes, but the question, you know, becomes, is the parking going to be sufficient? And I guess in part, since you do operate other Popeyes, what's been your experience as to how many vehicles you expect to be in the lot at any given time?
Yeah, great question. We currently operate 2 locations. Neither of them actually have any parking. Majority of our customers are either kind of like walk-in, you know, type customers, you know, or whether it's delivery or things like that. So we have not been given any, you know, concerns from the brand about the parking. Typically, exactly to your point, like when there's a drive-through, then there's more need, you know, for parking because it's a larger restaurant. There's more people sitting inside. Part of the reason we've, you know, limited the seating to just, you know, 8 to 10 was to ensure that, you know, it wasn't going to be too large that would, you know, impact the parking. We wanted to be mindful of that.
Okay. Another question. Clearly, from the community, one of the big concerns is odor and, you know, in grease. And how is that handled? And is that, you know, what do you do to make sure that we don't have, you know, smelly chicken all over everywhere? Although some people do like fried chicken.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's probably very similar to the neighboring restaurants and McDonald's, you know, Burger King, and all of that. But you know, Popeyes has strict operational guidelines that we have to follow in terms of cleanliness and, you know, and how we maintain that. So you know, we're audited by them quarterly to ensure that, you know, everything is up to standard. And it's a part of that. You know, not only do we have to do, you know, our regular hood cleanings and vent cleanings to make sure that, you know, that's typically when you think about smell and odor, it comes from that line. So, you know, we have to make sure that our grease traps are regularly serviced and maintained, make sure that our hoods are regularly cleaned, make sure that the air filters are regularly changed. So all of that is put on a preventative maintenance service plan that just follows the guidelines.
Have you had complaints from, with respect to any of your other operations about odor?
No, we have not. We even, you know, operate in, you know, we have Popeyes restaurants, you know, across the states some that operate in malls, some that are in like high density areas. So it's just part of our process.
Okay, and then with respect to the garbage in the dumpster locations, is there space on your property for the dumpsters, or are they really in the alley? It was kind of hard to see from the survey.
Yeah, I asked the current ownership about how they, you know, I think because it was like a grocery store at some point, and then there was a PLS there before that. So both of them obviously generate waste. So they told me that the dumpsters are actually in the alley so that the garbage trucks can actually go in there, pick them up. And I think they service, it's not just our building, but there's multiple buildings in that alleyway that are all serviced, I guess, by the same garbage company that picks up the garbage there.
Okay. And how large are the delivery trucks that come from Cisco or whoever? You know, big semis? Are they smaller? How
Yeah, I don't.
how big are they?
I don't know how like the size exactly how to describe it, but I would say like a medium-sized, you know, semi truck or delivery truck. And sometimes it also depends on how many deliveries they have that day. Sometimes, you know, if they're doing a few deliveries, then it comes on a much smaller truck. But if they're, you know, if they happen to be making, you know, 10 or more stops, then it comes on a larger truck. They determine the truck that they use.
Okay. And then my final question for the moment is can you explain kind of how the non-traditional Popeyes varies from the more traditional formats?
Yeah. So probably two main differentiations. So the most standard, you know, Popeyes is always with a single or double lane drive-through. Usually about 70% of the Popeyes system-wide sales go through the drive-through. So that is probably the number one thing that makes the most difference. And then the second thing would be in a standard dining room, which would accommodate anywhere from 20 to 32 seats. So those two things would probably make the most standard definition of a Popeyes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Pactel.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, can you tell me more about like the nature of the types of like orders? So it's clear to me that your restaurant would support dine-in, and it would support people putting orders, placing orders in advance. They can grab at the counter, presumably through the app or something like that. Yeah. Forgive me if it's not clear to me in the packet. Are you also planning to support like third-party delivery service? And if so, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of our, it's a part of like all restaurant, quick service restaurant businesses. So a percentage of our sales come from pre-ordering. Obviously, we try to drive majority of the sales through the restaurant or through the Popeyes app itself. But the brand does support third-party, such as Uber Eats and DoorDash. So orders that come through those platforms, and then we have like a catering platform. So orders that come through that would be serviced the same way it would through the app. So the individual would come in, they would give us their name, we would find their order in the register, whether it doesn't matter which platform they order from, and then the order would be given to them.
Do you have any estimates of what share of your sales would occur through those third-party apps?
Not necessarily through third party, but just like delivery as a whole.
Sure.
Yeah, I think delivery as a whole, it really ranges by location. And again, this is, I'll tell you kind of system-wide. This location, again, as Chair mentioned, it's slightly different because it's a non-traditional location. So the numbers would be skewed down, but it's usually around 20% across the system.
Okay. And those delivery people picking up those orders would presumably use the same parking lot in front that other customers would be using?
Yeah, so they would use the same lot, but usually there's usually dedicated parking stalls that the brand recommends. So usually there's like there would be like a sign for delivery driver parking, and those would be limited to like a few minutes, right? That they could just park there, pick up, and leave, and there would be dedicated one stall, or depending on the volume of the business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes, a few questions. Where are the other locations that you manage?
Yeah, I manage one in near like downtown Chicago, and then another one near like Norridge area.
Okay, got it. And then also, I'm sure you've heard the pushback is about the possibility of wanting healthier food options or locally owned. So with that extra space that you won't be using, would you be willing to partner with a locally owned business, a restaurant, to occupy that space?
Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mentioned this during our. I think it was a council meeting that I was a part of. That our broker is really just trying to find the right tenant, right? So as long as the financials make sense, absolutely, there's no reason for it not to. I'm assuming a restaurant would have to go through the same process. So as long as the city would approve them for that process, there's no reason we would not want that.
And I guess a question for staff, is that allowed to be a condition?
Probably not.
I don't see why not unless legal thinks otherwise, but so long as
I don't know that the Land Use Commission is empowered to mandate that sort of thing. Maybe a suggestion, but a shall or a must is, I don't think that's within the purview of the LUC.
Could you speak into the mic a little bit more so we can, it's hard to hear.
I just said that a suggestion would be fine, but mandating it would be outside of the Land Use Commission's purview.
I have a question for I think staff or legal. On a prior special use meeting, a question came up about, because there was some concerns about the use. It was on Central Street, the dog.
The dog shelter.
Yeah, and one of the things that they were concerned about was there was a nuisance issue that they had, and the question about the special use was, what's the remedy? So my question is, if this did get approved, and there was all these issues that we're reading we're getting from the feedback from the community that they're very concerned about. And if those issues did come to fruition, what is the remedy? Is this special use permanent, or is it renewed, or how does that work?
Yeah. So a special use can be revoked, like several other types of entitlements. If it does get improved with the conditions, obviously, depending on what those end up being, they'll have to adhere to those conditions. But ultimately, if they're not working within compliance of what was approved through the special use, including those conditions, we have the ability to use our enforcement procedures against them. And nobody obviously wants it to get to that point, but revoke the special use if we had to.
Other questions? I have just one last thing. With respect to landscaping, I know that there aren't any trees that you're going to remove, but one of the questions, just in looking at the pictures, and the little landscaping that's around the lot isn't in very good shape. Is that something you would be amenable to including, to cleaning up? I know that's been was. Made a condition of, I think there was an animal hospital at Emerson or Golphin and Crawford where that was included, just to kind of clean up the corner a bit.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I think, we would want to do that. Unfortunately, I think, it's not in great shape today, the lot, as well as the kind of the shrubs and the weeds all along there. So yeah, part of what we would want to do is definitely clean that up to make the curb and the corner more appealing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one more question. I noticed in the department recommendations section, there was a whole paragraph on sustainability and things about on-site recycling, recyclable and compostable to-go containers, prohibition on styrofoam, the use of styrofoam, litter patrol and pickup, and tap water being made available. I didn't see that in your presentation up here. How do you feel about that recommendation?
Yeah, so a few things. We have talked to the brand about like all the list of things in terms of how we can ensure we comply. So for example, the styrofoam cups we would not be using here. We would institute, paper bags for delivery, takeout orders. We would have water available. So we do that today. If any guest requests water, that is, always made available. And then, there's always garbage and recycle will also be there.
So would you plan to use any food packaging items that are non-recyclable or non-compostable?
I don't believe so. I mean, I'd have to honestly look at like all the items that we have, but the brand has informed me that we would comply with the things that were highlighted within the document.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Aravallo.
According to you, you said that the radius of the stores is about 1.5 miles.
Yeah, it depends on density.
What are the closest Popeyes?
The closest one is on Howard Street.
In Chicago?
Yes, in Chicago.
And what's the other one? Or what's another?
I think that is the nearest one.
Okay, because I know that there's one on Gulf and Waukegan, I believe?
That's quite a bit away.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anything else north of that?
There's one in Skokie on Tui, and the other closest one would be like near like not even Lincoln, but it's like on the corner of Devon and Lincoln.
Right.
So, most of those are quite a bit away from
Okay.
this location.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think you can sit down. Now we can move to public testimony, and as I indicated at the beginning, the Hartwood Center has requested 10 minutes to make a presentation, so we'll let you guys go first. If you'll come up and introduce yourselves and
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jason Metnick. I have the privilege of representing the owners of 1818 Dempster, which is the real estate where the Sojourning Meditation Center of Evanston is located, also known as the Heartwood Center. So we're opposing a special use for Popeyes at the 1826 to 1830 Dempster location because it doesn't meet the standards of B, C, D, F, and I under the zoning code for a type 2 restaurant special use. So let's just look first. It's noteworthy to know that both past and present, there's been a massive neighborhood opposition to fast food establishments in the West Village. Now, with respect to Popeyes, as we've included in our written opposition package, there's a petition with 350 signatures against it, as well as 250 emails saying no to Popeyes to the city council. That is a massive opposition by any measure. So, just for some background, what does Heartwood do? What does it bring to the community? It is primarily involved in Buddhist activities, including religious classes, a meditation shrine, and prayer, Sunday Sangha. It provides workforce development, job training, career and starter incubator services. It provides crucially needed local affordable housing, and it does that in connections for the homeless and the Arc of Chicago. It provides health care. It provides free cancer care, something that's unheard of this day and age. There's also acupuncture, yoga, tai chi, and support groups and advocacy for groups in need. This is a significant benefit to the community and the neighborhood. We can see on the bottom right that the area of Dodge and Dempster is now becoming, unfortunately, a nerve center for fast food establishments, which is what we think should be opposed tonight. So looking at the factors, so under standard B, yes?
Can I just ask, what were the blue dots in your last?
So those are parcels that are owned by the owners of the real estate of 1818 Dempster. So that's where the center is located, and then there's other housing establishments. Those are all parcels on the 1800 block of Dempster that are owned by a common owner.
Got it.
So going to the B standard for a type 2 special use, we look at whether or not it complies with the comprehensive plan of the city. And in this case, it doesn't. So the Dodge and Dempster area has a neighborhood business district to the east and residential to the north and south of the intersection. Now, one of the goals under the comprehensive plan is to enhance our existing assets of the neighborhood while maintaining the character of the neighborhood and strengthening the quality of life for all the residents. Adding a fourth fast food restaurant at this intersection doesn't draw upon the assets of the neighborhood. It doesn't improve the neighborhood quality of life. In fact, it brings a big detriment to it. Simply put, Popeyes isn't an enhancement to this neighborhood. Now, there's also environmental concern under the comprehensive plan that are inconsistent with putting a Popeyes in this location. Popeyes uses grease fryers and styrofoam materials historically that do not promote a healthy and high quality of life. Now, notably, this is a one-story building that at 16 feet would be expelling grease fumes. Imagine that in this location. It just does not add to the environmental concerns that are supposed to be addressed under the comprehensive plan. Now, under the soon-to-be-passed Envision Evanston comprehensive plan, one of the priorities is also to support local businesses and promote family businesses. Now, despite the gentleman speaking here that his family owns several of these, this is not what one would consider a locally owned, family-owned business. This is a national chain. There's no two ways around it. And under the Envision plan, also it seeks to measure the impact of development in a given area. Now, it's clear that adding a 20th special use in addition to the 19 special uses in the nearby vicinity does not promote a positive impact on the neighborhood. And that's what I'm going to talk about right here. So When we look at the next standard, the standard C under type 2, it asks whether there is a negative cumulative effect in conjunction with the surrounding special uses in the neighborhood. There are 19 currently. And this is kind of amazing if you break it down. There are 11 type 2 restaurants within 300 feet of Popeyes. 11 of them. There are 19 special uses within 500 feet in the notification zone, which comprises all of these. Adding a Popeyes is going to further add to the detriment of the neighborhood. It's not going to enhance it. And that's one of the things that is supposed to be considered both under the standard C as well as under the new comprehensive plan, is what is the cumulative effect going to be? And here it's obvious that it's going to be a negative cumulative effect. The next standard, standard D, asks whether or not the proposed project is going to interfere with or diminish the property values nearby. And this is a clear instance in which it's going to diminish the property values. If Popeyes goes in, Harwood Center goes out. It becomes vacant. It loses value. There is no possibility that that's an improvement to the real estate value. And closing one business and having it vacant can have an effect on down the line. And you have to remember, if you add more fast food businesses, it's one of the most intensive uses you can have for real estate. And we're adjacent to residential real estate areas that are the lowest intensity use you can have. So that just brings in another negative impact on property values. So it does not meet the D standard for type 2 special uses. The next standard under standard F is also not met. It asks what the effect is going to be on traffic congestion. So Dodge and Dempster are both major streets with the highest level of vehicular use that you can have. Okay, there has been no traffic engineering study performed, and adding more vehicles to this with this business with 2 curb cuts on this intersection is only going to exacerbate the traffic situation and add to the congestion. Now, there have been traffic engineering studies that were done for McDonald's. In fact, they did it twice. There was one that was done for Starbucks, and there's one that was done for Burger King. Here, we're just guessing at this point what the total impact is going to be. But we know already that this is a congested area, and it seems pretty likely that if a traffic engineering study were performed, it's going to show that adding a high-intensity use to an intersection that already has several high-intensity uses is going to cause there to be more congestion in the area. And also, there's very little parking for this proposed business. That's clearly going to come out in a traffic engineering study should one ever be performed. But at this point, it seems clear that this standard is not met. Now, going on to the I standard, it asks whether or not it complies with the regulations of the district where it's located and other applicable ordinances. Now, as I've already pointed out, it doesn't comply with the 2000 comprehensive plan. It doesn't comply with the Envision Evanston comprehensive plan. As Chair Lindwall pointed out, it probably doesn't comply with the current zoning code because it has landscaping issues that need to be remediated. So it's legal non-conforming at this point. But on top of that, it doesn't comply with 3 more objectives here. So under the Climate Action and Resilience Plan, which is aimed at achieving carbon neutrality by the year 2050, Popeyes historically has used styrofoam, which is not recyclable and doesn't break down in landfills. That is not consistent with the Climate Action and Resilience Plan. Under the Evanston Project for the Local Assessment of Needs, which establishes health priorities, bringing in a Popeyes hurts health equity and adds yet another unhealthy food option to the area. And then lastly, under the Evanston Thrives, which encourages a healthy and diverse economic base across Evanston, as opposed to supporting a locally owned or minority-owned business in the area, Popeyes is a large national chain. It's the opposite of what the goal is here. So under the I standard, it fails miserably, and it just does not comply. And lastly, I'm going to point out just quickly that The city staff has already pointed out other additional concerns that can't just be and shouldn't just be glossed over. And, one of them is that the restricted hours that are being imposed or suggested are because there's an anticipation of there being a nuisance after 9 p.m. I mean, that's something that should be considered here. That's a real issue. The city staff has also noted and suggested a prohibition on grease exhaust for the black iron ventilation for deep fried grease, because there's going to be a negative effect on adjacent properties that have to deal with the odor, the contamination, and the smell, which is beyond their control. So for all these reasons, and the many, many more that are in our written objection package, it should be denied. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. I guess we'll go on to the testimony. I have, what?
Can we ask questions
Yes.
of him before?
Yes.
Hi. Thanks for your presentation. I have two questions. One is, if I'm understanding correctly, you said Heartwood, sorry, I always do that. Heartwood will be forced to close. What would force Heartland to close in that scenario?
So I know that the owners are chomping at the bit, but numerous of the people who work there and practice there simply will not be able to with a Popeyes imposer, and they've already indicated that they would not be members there any longer. I will let Nancy answer that fuller because she deals with them on a day-to-day basis, but it has been made loud and clear that their membership will dwindle to nothing overnight.
Okay, so I'll look forward to hearing more about that. And then my other question is, I think listening to what you said, you posed potentially an interesting dilemma, which is on the one hand, you made the point that this is a heavily trafficked area. It's a major intersection, and that's why there is a lot of development there. On the other hand, you argued that having I think the phrasing you used was a high intensity use there would be a problem. But I'm just curious, what would work there that would not be high intensity use when you have something that's at the corner of a major intersection? Why? Yeah.
So typically, when you have this many high intensity uses, you might have a retail establishment where people come for longer than a short period of time to sit down and have a quick bite to eat and leave. Or you might have a place that has considerably more parking than this. And if they were going to engineer it in some way, a traffic engineer would need to opine on it so that they aren't constantly circling the area and your vehicle counts skyrocket. It depends on the development, but it needs to be accommodated either by parking or by a lesser intense use. And you could do that with vehicle counts and with a traffic engineer to tell you exactly what that is.
Okay, I lied. I have one more question, if you don't mind. You touched briefly on the end. I'm not sure you actually discussed it, but it was on the slide, this idea of a black iron ventilation. One, could you explain what that is? Two, could you confirm if other fast food restaurants have that as part of their operations? Because obviously McDonald's does deep frying. Burger King does deep frying. There's plenty of places that do deep frying at this intersection.
So I think we pointed out one other restaurant in our opposition packet that has that as well. I can't tell you the specifics of it, except that it is not recommended because of the amount of exhaust that comes out of it. I'm not an expert in the fast food industry, but I can tell you from an environmental perspective, it's not desired. This isn't an issue of talking about interior fans and whether or not there's an odor inside a restaurant. It's how much of that gets out of the building and into the environment, which is a totally different issue. The interior environment versus the exterior environment are completely different systems, and the black iron system is one that's intended to expel the grease into the air out of the business.
Okay, so you're saying that Popeyes uses a black iron ventilation system.
Correct.
And that is problematic.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chime in really quickly here. So I don't think that that's actually true. I would let the applicant speak to that. However, we did discussed this briefly with the building official before tonight's meeting. They will be required to have ventilation, but a type 1 hood is what will be required by the building code. And that's designed with special filters used to capture grease particles prior to entering the exhaust system.
Great, thank you. That's helpful.
I have a question. Taking that a little bit further. We have McDonald's. We have Starbucks, which I don't think they do any deep frying, but we have Burger King. Do they all have type 1 hoods? Do we know?
I would
Assume that?
assume so.
Okay. Because Burger King shares an alley with Darrow. And I remember when they were developing 2 townhomes on Darrow Street. And I was like, wow, your neighbor's Burger King. And I'm standing out in the alley on the back of the building, and I could smell Burger King. So the question is, how effective are these hoods? Because, we have a dilemma here. Like, we don't want to stop a business from being, doing the things that it does to help the community. At the same time, we don't want to hurt the community by putting a business that it would be destructive to the fabric of that area, hurt the values of the property. So I think we need more information about that issue, because that issue of odor has not been mitigated in this conversation so far. So somebody needs to help us with that.
Sorry, this is on a delay. There's a possibility too that you could add, a condition on as well, stating that they'll, and I'm just, shooting from the hip here, but explore that issue further and examine other types of hood options that go above and beyond potentially what the code requires. I'm also not a building expert either. I will say that the zoning district is the C1 zoning district, right? And one of why and that's our kind of more our zoning district where these are supposed to be located, right, and where they're envisioned to be located, and shopping centers and everything like that. And one of the reasons is because they do have traffic impacts. There's noise considerations, some smell considerations, and things like that. So,
Thank you. I have another question, sir. The applicants is purchasing the building. Is the building purchase predicated on approval?
I'm sure it is.
Well,
It's not my purchase agreement. It
yeah,
says purchase agreement.
let's
Oh, I'm sorry.
let's
Yeah.
kind of move on, and I think we can come back to that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's all right. Now we'll go to the people I have signed up. And these are the first set will be the people who signed up online to speak in person. And then we'll go to the people who signed up this evening. So, again, everybody has 3 minutes. And if a previous speaker has said what you wanted to say, it's fine to say I agree with the previous speaker. So first up is DeKalb Fonda, followed by Javoid Simmons and Rainer Humer. So, DeKalb.
Yeah, I'd actually like the Hartwood people to speak first. Could we do that? I signed up here.
Oh,
but
okay.
I signed up after they did, so.
All right. All right, I guess Nancy Floyd, let's go with that. I'll do this out of order, but everyone on the list will get to speak.
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy Floy, and I'm the director of the Hartwood Center for Body, Mind, Spirit, a Buddhist temple I founded in Evanston in 1999. I'm also the co-founder and president of the West Village Business Association. I live and work at Dempster and Dodge in the 2nd Ward, less than 500 feet from the proposed Popeyes location. We have worked very hard since June to achieve a fair and legal process, and I am so happy to finally be here before you at the Land Use Commission. I just can't tell you what a thrill really it is to finally be here. Thank you to each of you for this work that you do on behalf of all of us. I would also like to thank Commander Scott Sofier of the Evanston Police Force for their help in keeping Hartwood, me and my family safe during this process when the hate activities and threats began because of our opposition to Popeyes. Thank you to the officers who are here tonight to ensure our safety. Hartwood Center is a legal religious 501c3 recognized by the IRS. All of our activities are part of our Buddhist beliefs, deeply rooted in service to our community. At Hartwood, we have 4 primary service components. 1, affordable housing. Some of those blue dots you were asking about, we have 6 affordable housing options for our community members located on Dempster between Dodge and Darrow. 1 is a 4-bedroom home. Over the 15 years we've been on the block, we've worked with Connections for the Homeless and the ARC Chicago to provide housing in need. Workforce training, number 2, and jobs in holistic healthcare. For 28 years in Evanston, Hartwood has provided job training, office and classroom space for people wishing to work in the field of holistic healthcare. We currently have 50 individual small businesses incubating at Hartwood that we support in this way. Number 3, free holistic healthcare to our community. We have run our free Women in Cancer program for 28 years in Evanston, offering free care to women all over Chicagoland and Evanston who cannot afford it. No one has ever turned away from Hartwood for care, no matter their financial situation. Number 4, Buddhist classes and programs. Hartwood offers 3 regular meditation Buddhist classes a week and hosts visiting teachers. We study, practice, and meditate the Dharma together as Sangha or community. Hartwood has over 4,000 people in our total community. We have 1,000 people a week that come through Hartwood. These clients, patients, students, plus our 50 small businesses come into our neighborhood and they shop at Valley, they eat at Zently, they get a haircut at the barber shop, they wash their cars at Specs. Our community members often end up renting apartments or buying homes in our neighborhood. Hartwood generates income for Evanston, along with all of the love and care we give our community. If Popeyes locates directly next door to Hartwood, our west side offices and yoga studio along the west side of our building that butts right up against the parking lot will be rendered unusable. These 12 practitioners, you have those letters in your opposition packet, will be forced to leave due to the traffic, noise, and smell. Their offices and studios have beautiful windows that open right onto that parking lot that Popeyes would utilize. So I want to be really clear about that. This is why this is a threat to Hartwood, because I would have the west side of my office rendered unusable. You'll hear from people that will leave, and I won't be able to financially sustain that. So after 28 years, I will have to close Hartwood. The financial liability will just be too great. There'll be no more affordable housing, no more 50 jobs, no more workforce training, no more free health care, no 1,000 people a week coming through onto our block, no Buddhist temple. I'm just about done. Thank you. I urge you to deny the special use permit that Popeyes is requesting. If you do, I have a backup contract with Bob Wolfberg, the owner of the property. Bob and I speak 1 to 2 times a week, and we have a contract we both have agreed on and are ready to sign. Hartwood will purchase this property. That's Hartwood. The Buddhist temple will purchase this property, and we will not take it off the tax rolls. I repeat, it will not be taken off the tax rolls. Why? Because we won't be conducting Buddhist activities. Instead, we will be renting in a rent-to-buy option to Gabi Walker Aguilar and Byron Glapian, who you will hear from tonight, from 4 Sons, to open their beautiful Choice Food Mall, offering a healthy food option. Gabi is a local woman born in our neighborhood and a successful businesswoman. We at Hartwood have a parking lot. We have 27 spots in our lot, and Gabi and Byron will have space in our lot, in addition to the 11 spots that are in that property. We will beautifully landscape, as we have done with Hartwood Center. That was all concrete. We jackhammered that up and planted it with beautiful plantings. Together, Hartwood and 4 Sons will generate as much, if not more, income for the city than Popeyes ever could in services and in sales tax. Again, in combination, Hartwood and 4 Sons. This is all in complete alignment with our Thrive Initiative and Envision Evanston. Thank you again, Land Use Commission, really so much from my heart, I thank you. To everyone from Heartwood, I'm just so grateful that you're all here, so grateful. And then to Melissa Klotz, and to Jason Metnick, our attorney. In the Buddhist way, we offer out all that we do for the benefit of all beings. And so, however you decide, we wish for it to be for the greatest good, for the benefit of all beings, and that it brings peace to our neighborhood. Thank you so much for the extra time and for your attention.
Thank you. Next. What?
Did you have any questions, perhaps?
Anyone? Do you?
During public comment, we're not supposed to ask questions, correct?
Oh, sorry. All right, then. Okay.
All right, John.
Well, all right, then.
Okay, next up is Gabby Aguilar. And then after that will be Byron Glapian.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Jean-Paul Walker Aguilar. I am a native of Evanston, born and raised, the descendant of Haitian immigrants, two of which have names, street names after them in Evanston, assets of the community, and very much invested in our community. Both of my grandparents were business owners in Evanston, Carmelita Coiffeurs, which is now Peckish Pig, and JP Limo. Currently, I own Four Sons Fresh Juice at the corner of Main and Dodge, 1906 Main Street. Persevered through COVID, closed down, reopened because the community was passionate about having us there. In 2023, one of my young team members made a horrible accident, which was the result of burning down my shop, closed down, moved to Houston, hated Houston. 11 months later, came back because this is my home. In May, I reopened because I realized there's no place I'd rather be than a business owner in the community I was born and raised in. But not only a business owner, someone giving something healthy and nutritious to my children, their friends, my family, my friends, my elders, my neighbors, my community, all of you. I'm not anti-Popeyes. My family goes to Popeyes on Howard. There's one on Waukegan and Gulf, okay? There's Popeyes everywhere. But at the corner of Dempster and Dodge, where my kids are at the high school, where my son is at Washington, where my family lives on Pittner, McDaniel, Nathaniel, Fowler, Dempster, my family, I want healthier options. I want more than grease. The love of my life, who's going to speak next? Born and raised in New Orleans. Just got here last year. Sorry to say, he can cook Popeyes better than Popeyes. Our plan for the corner is Choice Food Hall. Options for people. You come with a group of people, some are gluten-free, some are vegan, some are vegetarian, pescatarian, omnivores, herbivores, airivores, fruitarians. Everyone needs a place to eat. Someone already ate dinner, they need dessert, coffee, all right? Options. So I'm just here to say that we're here for that. The last piece is our health inspections at Four Sons Fresh Juice are always top of the line. Carly comes in and says, I already know. I'll eat on your floors. So the question is, with regard to health at Dempster and Dodge, we won't have those issues because I've already been approached about being a part of the health inspection team at the City of Evanston. Thank you.
Next speaker is Byron. And I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. Gladman. Okay.
Good evening, Land Use Commission. Most of us here tonight are aware of the essential Popeyes menu. Obesity, hypertension, fatty liver disease, heart disease, LDL increases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All negative conditions associated with a frequented Popeyes dining choice. In fact, a basic three-piece combo meal includes 1,850 calories, 92 grams of fat, 3,700 milligrams of sodium, and 65 grams of sugar. Just one. One Popeyes meal far above the recommended national average. Evanston, on the other hand, what I've come to learn, is a thriving community rooted in peace, equity, prosperous living, and longevity, a long and well-balanced quality of life. Tonight, Four Sons humbly ask you to keep it that way. Support these four fundamental qualities, and a choice location by Four Sons both supports and enhances just that. Fresh juices, fresh teas, fresh smoothies, fresh salads, hot soups for winter sustenance, and balanced, nutritional, wholesome meals. New Orleans Cajun and Creole, Caribbean, Southern, American and Midwestern staples and styles, offering this unique community and you options for healthy living via balanced nutritional diets at your and your family's disposal. Further supporting Evanston's core values through positive social environments in a designated, clean, and safe space. A place to eat per your choice, a place to sip coffee or hot chocolate or an herbal tea, a place to work on your pad or enjoy a good conversation, a place just to unwind and just to be. Four Sons understands these demographics and offers you exactly what the community desires for themselves, for their families, and their neighbors. We are not here to vilify Popeyes, but to provide you with more support to the values that this community holds so dear. Now, as far as the city's business is concerned, can we again demystify the illusion that has been created, which is Heartwood's purchase of this property will result in zero contributions to city and state taxes. This is simply not true, and this is why. Number one, Four Sons has been in constant discussions with Heartwood on the matter and has already reached a binding resolution. Number one, Heartwood will purchase the property. But by contract, Four Sons will lease to own the property from Heartwood. Hence, Four Sons will operate as Choice Food Hall, subject to the same city, state, and other taxes as any other business in the community. We will contribute the same percentages of tax revenue as Popeyes or any other business operating within the great city limits of Evanston. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Miles had something to say.
What? Oh.
Hi, my name is Miles. I'm a fourth grader at Washington School. I would like healthier options in my neighborhood. I don't want Popeyes. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Larry Akey, followed by Victor Grimm, and then DeKalb Fonda.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, my name is Larry Akey. I reside at 1814 Dempster in the 2nd Ward and within 500 feet of the proposed Popeyes. I'm the Director of Meditation Programs and the Treasurer at Heartwood Center for Body, Mind, and Spirit, but I'm here tonight in my capacity as a member of the West Village Business Association, speaking on behalf of two business owners who are unable to attend. All of us are asking that you reject the special use application of Popeyes. I've been asked by the owner of Specs Car Wash and Hand Detailing, Mr. Shahad Pervez, who is currently out of the country, to raise concerns about Popeyes locating in the building just across the alley from his business at 1235 Dodge. You will find in a letter detailing his concerns in the Heartwood opposition packet. As you know, Specs is a drive-through car wash with customers exiting the business immediately behind the property in question. Mr. Pervez is very concerned that Popeye's delivery trucks and garbage trucks will block customers from leaving his building, likely causing him to lose business and diminishing the value of his property. I acknowledge that the city has reserved the right to restrict delivery hours if they become problematic. However, the city staff told you in July that they don't have the capacity to monitor or enforce the conditions that they impose. Given that, and given that Mr. Punja has done everything he could to evade the zoning process for the last several months, you can imagine that promises of future restrictions given Mr. Pervez very little comfort. Mr. Bebo says that it's possible for the city to rescind a type 2 use. I would ask Mr. Bebo, when was the last time the city actually did that? I think the answer is it has not. From my perspective, the conditions that the city has imposed on delivery restrictions is little more than putting lipstick on a pig. Mr. Pervez and Mr. Dean of Windy City Flavors, located at 1806 and 1801 Dempster, also within 500 feet of the proposed restaurant, are very concerned about the lack of adequate parking for Popeye's employees. Not only has the city found that the lot is not big enough for Popeye's employees, we haven't even talked about what are we going to do for the customers and employees of the business that co-locates there. Just as an aside, one of the property owners, Mr. Bob Wolfberg, has said to us that he hopes that what he'll be able to co-locate there is a PLS, check writing and payday loan service. Whether or not that comes to fruition, I guess, is up to Mr. Punja if in fact he buys the property. Regardless of whatever other businesses he chooses to bring in, we respectfully request that you not even consider Mr. Punja's applications until he demonstrates that he has already secured adequate parking for both businesses. For all of these reasons, I urge you to deny Popeye's special use application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker on the list is Victor Grimm, followed by DeKalb Fonda, and then Osa Gazelius.
Good evening. My name is Victor Grimm. I've been an Evanston resident for 50 years, and I will make just 3 brief points, some of which will echo some of the things that have been said, but in maybe different words and different nuances. First, I would note, and I think most would agree with this, that the Dempster-Dodge intersection is already the heart of Evanston's fast food strip. Yet another fast food outlet on this location would certainly add to additional traffic congestion. It is clear that Popeye's is a high-volume carryout operation with very little indoor seating. And while there will be no drive-through at this operation, that necessarily means that all customers are going to have to vie for the limited parking that is available on that site. The applicant stated in its written application that there would be co-tenants at this address, and I'm quoting from that submission, serving food and retail experiences, whatever that means. Inevitably, there would be competition for the relatively few parking spaces on that site that would at times undoubtedly create gridlock on the adjacent streets, especially in the early evening rush hour. I would note that the staff memorandum asserts that Popeye's will not create significant undue traffic congestion. It does not explain how it came to that conclusion. It merely asserts that conclusion, and we learned earlier that there has not been a traffic study. I'm not sure what significant undue traffic means to them, but those of us who regularly drive through that intersection would say that at times there already is significant traffic congestion. Second, As we have just heard, a local organization has offered to purchase the subject property and to operate a Type 1 restaurant on that location with healthy food choices. One of the goals of Evanston, in Envision Evanston 2045, is to, and I'm quoting, support and retain local businesses. The Popeyes applicants are obviously out-of-town business executives. Third, the Evanston E-Plan identifies obesity as a serious health risk in West Village. May I have an additional minute?
Just a minute,
Thank you.
but please wrap it up.
The Evanston E-Plan identifies obesity as a serious health risk in this area. The Daily Meal, which is an online review service for restaurants, reports that Popeyes and Five Guys, and I'm quoting here, received the highest unhealthiness scores for their most popular menu items. This corner is just 1 block from Evanston Township High School. Many adolescent developing minds might choose unhealthy trans foods for lunch or after-school snacks. But I am sure that most of their parents would not approve of such easy access, especially if facilitated by the city. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, Calfonda, followed by Osa Gazelius, and then Hannah Schleckman.
Seligman. Chairwoman
Anyway.
Lindwall, council members, my name is DeKel Fonda. My partner, Javoyd Simmons, and I have lived and raised our family for the past 45 years in the neighborhood just southeast of the Dempster Dodge corner, an area now known as the West Village. According to the city, we are within 500 feet of the Dempster Dodge intersection. We have seen many positive changes over the years, and many of us have worked hard to uplift this community. We chose this area of Evanston, and we are proud to live here. So let me introduce you to our neighborhood. Some residents have been here for many years, as we have. Others are fairly new homes turned over to younger families. Most living in single-family homes, 2 flats, a few townhomes. We are filled with artists, home businesses, and many hardworking families. We are the most diverse and integrated quadrant of Evanston, economically, generationally, racially, culturally. There are 5 languages spoken on my cul-de-sac block. We are what many people think of all Evanston looks like. We value and we work hard to preserve this integrated diversity in a city that is rapidly gentrifying. We have many wonderful, caring neighbors who are fair-minded, not NIMBY-oriented, not in my backyard-oriented. In fact, many of us have been living in a virtual construction zone on 3 consecutive blocks on Darrow Avenue, which is 1 block east of Dodge, with a major water project that has gone on all summer and has torn up our streets, yards, and sidewalks, inconveniencing everyone. Yet I have yet to hear a few complaints from residents. Most of us have been kind and friendly to the hundreds of men working on our streets in the heat of summer. I point this out to underscore the level of tolerance that exists here. For many years, we have even tolerated an abundance of fast food restaurants close by at Dempster and Dodge, as well as a predatory payday loan and cash checking stations that were once on that corner for years. But enough is enough. And let's be real, we would probably not be having this conversation about Popeyes if this neighborhood was located in northwest or northeast Evanston. When Hartwood Center opened 15 years ago, they were a major contributor to stabilizing the Dempster border of our neighborhood. Prior to them purchasing the property and converting it to a Buddhist temple and a beautiful healing arts center, it was a uniform store, then a plumbing store reputed to be owned by a criminal enterprise with chain-linked window coverings. Some people were afraid to come to Dempster and Dodge at that time. Now it vibrates with people and positive, healthy activity around Hartwood. They also helped to create the West Village Business Association, which has worked with the city through the years, and most recently on the Thrives initiative, to bring growth and even more positive changes to the business district. I'm often asked by residents who don't live here, what's the big deal with Popeyes coming? The corner's already full of fast food joints, so who cares? Inherent in their question is the answer. The corner is already completely saturated with fast food that's not particularly healthy. That's why we do not need to add another one that will, again, decrease the quality of life for the people who live and work in our community. Let me ask all of you, if you were fortunate enough to live in our wonderful neighborhood, would you be willing to accept a significant increase in the noise, the traffic, the congestion, the greasy odors filtering out to the homes and businesses in your community? If personally you answer no to that question, then please do not ask us to. Thank you.
Next speaker is Osa Gazelius. Did I get that close? Not even close.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Osa Gazelius. Yes, it's difficult to come after Decalfanda because she has pretty much said everything that I was planning on saying, but much better. My family and I have resided in the second ward, approximately a block and a half from the proposed Popeye site for the past 23 years. During these years, our immediate neighborhood has changed in very profound and very positive ways. 23 years ago, this was by many perceived as a less attractive part of Evanston, as we were known for fast food restaurants and low-budget stores. With the arrival of Heartwood Center, with its focus on healing and community building, combined with a strong art focus that was already an integral part of our neighborhood, we became known as West Village, a part of the second ward that we all take great pride in. I have been shocked and appalled by the complete disregard that our older person and city staff have demonstrated in response to more than 300 people initially speaking out against this proposal. As has been stated, there is a counter proposal for Heartwood to purchase the property and create a very different venue with the goal of continuing to nurture and build community. I cannot even envision another fast food restaurant in my immediate neighborhood. We have worked so diligently to create a very different community, which can now easily be destroyed. This is deeply personal to myself and to my family. I therefore urge the Land Use Commission to vote no to this proposal as it is fundamentally against community wishes. Thank you so much.
Next up, I have Hannah Schlechtman, followed by Julie Fleep, and then Bryant Guy.
Hello, my name is Hannah Seligman, and I grew up in the second ward just down the street from where Popeyes is proposing to open on the corner of Dodge and Dempster. I am here today to express my opposition to this proposal. The first issue that I would like to address is the violation of trust and community input during this decision process. A democratic process was not followed for constituents to express deep concerns regarding the proposal. The second issue that I'd like to raise is that the community does not want yet another unhealthy fast food restaurant on the corner of Dempster and Dodge. As a community, we would like to have the opportunity to uplift small community businesses that heal our community and bring us together instead of multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations that make us chronically ill. From my experience working in the field of food insecurity and health research, we know that chronic disease is the leading cause of death in our country, disproportionately impacting lower income communities. This proposal would exacerbate poor community health outcomes, lower our perceived community economic value, and will decimate small businesses when we really have an opportunity to support them and to bring our neighbors together. Popeye's opening on the street corner also desecrates Heartwood, a Buddhist faith-based healing center next door. This goes against their religious freedoms and mission of creating a healing environment for community members seeking spiritual services and treatment there. For all these reasons, I strongly urge the Land Use Commission to oppose the Popeyes proposal.
Thank you. Next speaker is Julie Flips, and then followed by Bryant Guy, and then Susan Link.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to keep it short because everybody has said all the things.
And you just introduce yourself.
So, I'm Julie Flips, and I have been an active member in the Heartwood community for the last 2 years, which have been the hardest 2 years of my life. And I was welcomed completely into the fold. I sensed meditation would be helpful for me, and I was right, and so much more. What I have found at Heartwood is it's a community of care, kindness, openness, honesty, welcoming, generous, fun, deeply caring community. And the loss of Heartwood would be such a personal loss, but it would also be a loss to the greater community for all the reasons already stated. And I live in Northwest Evanston, and I think we all know that there would not be an intersection with a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Popeyes, and whatever else. I mean, it just would not happen in Northwest Evanston. So I ask the commissioners here, I ask the city of Evanston, I'm looking at the logo, to please match your talk with the walk. This community is rich and thriving. Zently across the street from Heartwood, the other small businesses that you can feel the energy, as other people have already said. It is a warm, thriving community, and to slap a fast food restaurant on that already inundated corner, it just, I'm strongly opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brian?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Bryant Guy, and I want to thank you for including the T. Most people just say Brian, and I have to add it if I need to. I'm going to try and keep it brief. A lot of people have made amazing, excellent arguments. You don't need to hear them again from me, but in the interest of what the psychologist Carl Rogers once said, sometimes the most personal is the most universal. I'm just going to speak from my own personal experience. I've been a lifelong Buddhist, but in that pursuit of a group that practices Buddhism in a certain way that resonated with me, I never found a group as closely aligned as I have now with Nancy and Larry's facility there at Heartwood. So finding them several years ago, I come there at least twice a week, sometimes more. It's profoundly meaningful to me in my sincerely held religious beliefs to have that community there. So if they were threatened with their existence threatened through the loss of revenue and ultimately having to fold, personally, I'd be left without that group, which would be a hole in my life spiritually. Second point I'll make is from the personal. I am, and I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but physically I'm class 2 obese. I learned that through my doctor. And I'm also right at the line for having A1C pre-diabetic. So I've been making extreme efforts to eat healthier. But when I go to Heartwood, Zently across the street is about the only place that I've been able to find that has any kind of healthy food option. Believe me, I've been to many Popeyes restaurants in my life, as well as McDonald's, Burger King, and my holy grail, Taco Bell, which thankfully isn't close to Heartwood. Otherwise, but I'm trying to stay to a healthy diet for my health, not just cosmetically to look good. And when I go to Heartwood, if I'm hungry, I'm out of luck, because unless I want to take the time for a sit-down experience at Zently, there's no other option. If this counter proposal goes through and a healthier option is available right next door, I'm going to be your customer every time I'm in the area. And I will spend freely and happily, knowing that I'm within my health goals. Otherwise, I just starve myself, and then I drive myself back. And so, speaking of driving myself back, point 3, I can give you a traffic use study. It's called Google Maps. Every time, literally almost every time I come to Heartwood, it's usually in the late afternoon for one of their Buddhist services. The blue line turns yellow and then red on the Google Maps as I'm approaching that corner. And then, additionally, since Heartwood, as I'm going eastward, right at Dodge, Dempster goes from 2 lanes to 1. And there is an invariable bottleneck right literally at the curb cut of that property on the corner. And I'm envisioning, with a high turnover business, this is just me spitballing. It's not a legitimate study, but I can't imagine that red line getting less red. So that's essentially the points that I wanted to make, just from my own personal experience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And followed by Courtney Bozart. And actually, I've been a little remiss, so in addition to introducing yourself, could you please give us your address?
Okay.
I
yes,
should have been doing this along, so I apologize.
Yeah, I'm Susan Linke, and I'm actually from River Grove, which is actually between O'Hare and Oak Park.
Okay.
Imagine stretching in a yoga class while continually smelling fast food chicken grease. Imagine relaxing into a massage while smelling chicken grease and being jarred by clinging pans. Can you imagine it? I can't, and neither can the practitioners at Heartwood. This is not a question of whether you have a choice between Popeye's chicken or 4 Sons. It's about whether there will be a Popeye's or 4 Sons in Heartwood. And Heartwood's 50 practitioners, which include psychotherapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists who help Evanston citizens cope with trauma, acupuncturists, integrated and functional medicine doctors who help people with debilitating chronic health problems, and Qigong, Tai Chi trainers and massage therapists who help Evanstonians cope with stress, and midwives who deliver Evanston babies, yoga trainers who help people stay healthy as their bodies age, and physical therapists who help Evanstonians recover from injuries. And then meditation, Buddhism, and shamanism teachers who help build community spiritually. Some of the health practitioners, professionals, help people be sufficiently healthy to maintain jobs productively. As a member of Nancy's Buddhist classes, I have met people dealing with excruciating family loss and hardship, including divorce, life-threatening illness, and loss of children. There's a question if you want a healthy community with healthy food options and health practitioners, different varieties of health practitioners, or whether you want just another fast food joint. Do we want diversity, including choice in religion, choice in food, choice in healthcare? I'm a vegan. looking forward to the opening of Four Sons. I'm a Buddhist practitioner practicing at Heartwood. I also fight headaches and have worked extensively with alternative medicines. My recommendation is for diversity, Heartwood, and Four Sons. Thank you.
Next up is Courtney. And again, I apologize, but give us your name and address.
Good evening, Chair
Lindwall.
Lindwall, Commissioners. My name's Courtney Bossart. I live at 1400 Sheridan. I live in Wilmette and work in Heartwood as a business owner. I stand here tonight in a place of humility and gratitude. Gratitude that Heartwood exists for many reasons, but a big one was that when I moved here from another state, the center accepted me and made me feel like family. And humility because Heartwood is a refuge and it is at risk of no longer existing, which is why I'm here to speak to the value of the space and our need for it and for spaces like it. It is more than my workplace. I have an office here, but it is also an extension of my home, the home within my heart that can extend to others who come into this space seeking refuge, help, guidance, healing, and relief from their suffering. I may make money here. I may draw others into sessions here, but it's more to me than that. The lobbies that hold gentle conversations, the rooms invite self-awareness and deep attention for listening to what the body, the heart, and the deeper self are trying to say. In those quiet moments, in the soft stillness, people hear something beyond themselves. And from that spaciousness, that place that they have touched again, they come back to center, to their own steadiness and truth residing within. Imagine that from that place of peace, the capacity to love, to care, and to give returns, not only for themselves, but for their families and for our community. There's a sacred quality to this building and what it represents. We do not have many places like this. And if you knew what it was like to enter this space, the sacredness, the silence, where you can hear God, Spirit, whatever name you use for the mystery that steadies us, you would understand how precious it is. Heartwood is not just another building. It is the living work of many people who truly care for others. This sacredness is fragile and rare. It nourishes our generations quietly. Parents who learn how to breathe again and regulate their nervous systems. Children who meet the kindness in an adult. Neighbors who rediscover how to care for one another. I stand here simply to ask that this refuge, Heartwood, this sacred space of healing and intimate connection with the fullness of oneself, be honored and preserved. That this building and its activities remain possible, that people can continue to come here and be met with presence, healing, and community. And in this age of technology where isolation and loneliness are more prevalent, these spaces provide a deeper purpose, reminding us that we are here and that we matter because we are here. This is more than making money for me. Heartwood generates revenue for Evanston with over 50 practitioners. This is about what we don't have a lot of and the value of preserving that special and unique space called Heartwood. Thank you for listening and for holding our humanity with care.
Thank you. Next speaker on my list is Jeffrey Franzen, followed by Rainier Humor, and then I think it looks like Marilyn Walker, I believe. So go ahead.
Good evening, Chairwoman Lindwall and Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jeffrey Franzen. I live at 1440 Sheridan Road in Wilmette. And I'm here tonight for one reason, and that reason is Heartwood. Look, we've already heard from Heartwood's lawyer that the proposal for Popeyes does not meet the tests of the land use. So this really should be an open and closed case. Since I have 2 minutes and 24 seconds, I'll give you my experience with Heartwood. For more than 10 years, Heartwood's been a place of healing, learning, and connection for me. When I needed support, I found a psychologist at Heartwood that made me healthier and stronger. Later, when I discovered a community at Heartwood in that shrine room that you saw, that Nancy showed, where people of all backgrounds gather to study wisdom, to share, and to connect. Even though I'm not a Buddhist, personally, I was welcomed with open arms. This is the type of community that we really need. There are very few places in this world where a person can truly feel safe and at home, and Heartwood is one of them. It's a place of self-reflection and contemplation. It's a place where workshops and concerts lift people's spirits. It's a place where healers from many different backgrounds work under one roof, offering a wide range of services that treat not just symptoms, but the root causes of suffering and disease. Heaven knows in times like these, we need more aware and wise people walking the earth. People who learn compassion for themselves and for others. That's what Heartwood cultivates. That's what we'll lose if Popeyes is allowed to move in next door. If Popeyes is approved, we've heard from Nancy that there's a high risk that many practitioners will begin leaving. And if I may use a sports analogy, what looks like just a small nick can actually be a knockout blow. The result would be Heartwood's closure. I don't live in Evanston, yet I choose to spend my time and my money here because of Heartwood. And I'm not alone. We heard that every week more than 1,000 people come through its doors. People who shop here, eat here, and strengthen Evanston's economy. Heartwood draws life into this community. Heartwood is like the roots of a tree in this community. Strong, steady, and giving life to everything around it. If you cut it down, you don't just lose the tree, you lose the shade, the oxygen, and the shelter. Commissioners, when my children ask me what kind of world we're building for them, I want to be able to say a healthier, more compassionate one. Tonight, you have that chance to make that come true. So I urge you, vote no to the special use for Popeyes and vote yes to Heartwood, to wisdom, to community, and to the kind of Evanston we want to see flourish. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Rainier Humer, followed by, I think it's Maryland Walker.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rainier Humer, and I live at 1866 Sherman. I used to live in the 2nd Ward, and I work in the 2nd Ward now. About 10 years ago, I went to many city council meetings because Evander Thomas, the then director of the health department and human services, and Evanston Fire and Police asked the healthcare organization where I was a director in for help because there were Evanston residents who called 911, went to the ED, got discharged, 2 hours later called 911 again. First responders couldn't refuse their calls, and that dance happened for 4 or 5 times within 24 hours with some Evanston residents. So we developed a crisis line that extends over Evanston now. We developed a community support program where we send social workers to those clients' homes who had been in the ED the night before and who linked them to services. And we started social work at the library. Evander Thomas said that there were certain Evanston residents that fell through the cracks before our program. And today I am here to advocate for other Evanston residents that I think are falling through the cracks. And as we heard before, echoing it, it's small business owners who are up against segregation from opportunity by large corporations. And other issues that also concern health, Yolanda Thomas, I don't know if you know, but she started an initiative, Rethink Your Drink. And that was an initiative to reduce the sugar content that people consumed in soda pops, etc. If she were here now, I think what she would say, she was also a nurse, would echo what other people have already said. In our neighbors in Chicago, in West Garfield Park, the life expectancy of the average resident is 20 years less than in other Chicago neighborhoods. In Evanston, I don't think we want to have the Dodge Dempster area become Evanston's West Garfield Park. There are other places in Evanston, Zora's Place in the Second Ward that was on National Public Radio today. We all know that Evanston is one of the few cities in the United States that people that are voted as the best town to live in, or among the best dozen towns. And I think that we want to keep it like that. So I don't think that the fast food places on Dempster and Dodge and other things like the congestion and, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That you understand.
All right,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, next, oh, we have more? Oh, thank you. All right, next up is it Marilyn Walker? Did I get, it's hard to read this name. Okay, then moving on, Meredith Haidari. I get that close, I hope?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Mardis Haidari, and I'm here as a representative of the Sangha and the Women of Wisdom group at Heartwood, as well as an Evanston Sangha of Insight Chicago. My daughter's a fourth grader at Kiravali Montessori, located in Dempster and Hinman, and she attends weekly to the band practice of School of Rock. We live in Des Plaines, Illinois, which is about 30 minutes one way, depending on traffic. With commute that far, I stay locally in Evanston, shopping at Valley's or Dollar Tree, using the Crown Center, or eating sushi at Sea Ranch. Why travel so far, you may wonder? I have chosen to travel this far daily because I value raising my daughter in a place that fosters community, compassion, and lifelong learning, her at Kiravali and me at Heartwood. I wanted to share some points with you here today, but most of you have already said them, but I did want to share one point. By saying no to Popeyes, you protect the well-being of the community. Studies have shown that loneliness and social isolation are associated with higher risk for health problems such as heart disease, depression, and cognitive decline. Heartwood offers a powerful antidote to the loneliness epidemic. It provides a safe space for people to find connection, support, and a sense of belonging through shared practices of mindfulness and meditation, or through visiting one of the many holistic healthcare practitioners here at Heartwood. Heartwood offers practical tools for physical, mental, and emotional well-being. It is a place of refuge and personal growth, a place that cultivates and supports inner transformation that benefits everyone. It is imperative to protect places where people to go find safety and solace for all the noise and hate in our current country's climate. When people don't feel safe, they will react out of fear. What does that mean for a city that doesn't protect its people's well-being? In summary, I hope voting no to Popeye's proposal is what is in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jade Forrest, followed by David Johnson, and then Alice George.
Good evening. I'm Jade Forrest. I live about a mile from Heartwood, and I'm a practitioner there. And I've been so moved by the things that people have said that I may cry and just, ignore that. So most of the things that have been said, I also agree with about, there would be no loss of income from the city because whoever is there will pay taxes, all that kind of stuff, and that there are other bottom line values from my point of view, that community service and all that stuff that you've been hearing about, that I love paying my rent at Heartwood for those reasons. But I wanted to say two things about the opposite ends of age. So one of them is that it was mentioned that teenagers like fast food, but a few weeks ago we had a small a peaceful protest in the parking lot at the proposed site. And while we were there, 3 ETHS students came by of multiple ethnic varieties asking, what's this all about? And when I told them that we wanted to oppose Popeyes in favor of 4 Sons and having a healthy option, they really were behind it. So not all teenagers want just fast food. That's one thing. At the other end of the spectrum, I'm just a few months away from entering my 80th year. I'm a practitioner at Heartwood. Fortunately, I am still very healthy and strong, and I love my work, but I'm in that position of many people my age who I have to work. Heartwood makes it affordable for me, and maybe that's enough to say. If they go away, I probably would have to leave the area just to find a place where I could work. So, yeah, please keep us here.
Thank you. Next speaker is David Johnson. David Johnson? Okay.
Commissioners, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is David Johnson. I live in Southeast Evanston. I've worked at the Heartwood Center over 20 years. As a practitioner, most of my office is located about 5 feet from the parking lot, but my window opens up to it, facing west, and probably 30 feet from the proposed site. This would be an untenable situation for my services there or clients that come. And so I believe for the last 20 years, Heartwood has proven, and my participation in it feels very good. We're moving this community in the right direction, in my belief. Approval of the Popeyes chain fast food service would be a move in the wrong direction of what this community is moving toward. So I say, down with Popeyes. Let's keep things moving in the health direction. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alice George, followed by Rosendo Lopez.
Hi there, I'm Alice George. I live at 1324 Ashland, just 3 blocks away. I've lived there for 35 years. I have a lot of stake in this decision. 4 years ago, when my mother was in a slow, agonizing decline, I realized I needed support, and I found a meditation group at Heartwood, just 3 blocks away. That community at Heartwood has been life-changing for me, supporting me during great loss and building my sense of purpose and freedom. I now practice twice a week at Heartwood. At a time when religion is all too often used to divide us, I'm proud to be a Buddhist and aligned with such a reasonable and tolerant religion and philosophy. I'm seriously troubled when I imagine a future without the wonderful Heartwood Center. My second point is I've also found a wonderful acupuncturist at Heartwood that is a huge boon to my health care, so I would miss that if Heartwood closed. My next point is I'm also a small business owner. I'm one of the founders of Sketchbook Brewing Company, and in that role, I served on the board of the main Dempster Mile, so I know how important gateways are. I know that a lot of people entering the West Village come right to that intersection. I'm kind of appalled that they're mainly confronted with fast food restaurants. I'm delighted at what's happened with Zently and, of course, with Heartwood. The momentum that's we can feel in the room around the West Village and around that area is really pretty remarkable in this city, and I think would be seriously impacted if Popeyes came in. Among other things, there's that wonderful mural wall, which is now holding a sprightly and lively protest art that offers a great opportunity to be a beautiful gateway to the West Village. One last point, I don't think anyone's mentioned, Heartwood also displays art. Dozens of artists have shown in that space free of charge, and there aren't very many spaces like that in Evanston. I'm one of the artists who's benefited from that, and I want to speak in favor of that also. So please say no to Popeyes. Thank you.
The next speaker is Risando Lopez, followed by, I think, Stone Branton. Risando? Did I? No? Okay. Is it Stone Brenton?
I think that's me.
Steve. Oh, that's a Steve. I'm sorry.
I guess I'm the guy with the bad handwriting.
You're on Crane, right?
Excuse me?
You're on Crane, right?
Yes, on Crane.
Yes.
Yeah. 1623 Crane, Steve Brunson. I'm probably going to make everybody here tonight unhappy because I hope Popeye moves in. I live exactly 3 blocks from that intersection. I've been there about 15 years. And I did something today. I looked on Google Maps and Google Street View, and you can go back like 18 years. And the revival in this neighborhood that people are talking about, if you really look at the evidence on Google, it's not really happening. That one block on Dempster between Dodge and Darrow, 17 or 18 years ago, it was all the businesses were full. Today, there are 5 active businesses on that one block and 7 vacant or inactive businesses. So when I heard Popeyes was going to move in to fill a vacancy on a largely vacant block, I was really happy. I thought, oh, great, we're going to have more businesses here. And then I was surprised when I started hearing all this opposition. So, and when you look back, like 17 or 18 years ago on Google Street View, the same businesses that are still there, or that are still here now that were there back then, are Burger King and the barber shop. Everything else has come in later. So Heartwood came in after they knew that this was an area with a lot of fast food places, because also down the block at that time, there was already McDonald's, there was a KFC that's not there anymore. It's where Starbucks is now. But this has been sort of the fast food area. Anybody moving in there now knows that this is the fast food area. I'm kind of known in the neighborhood. I walk my dogs like about 4 hours a day, so I walk right by there multiple times during the day, and I drive through there a lot. I mean, yeah, there's the traffic I would expect to see with 2 major streets intersecting. Maybe in my 15 years, I've had to slow down like 2 or 3 times because there are extra cars kind of starting to back up into McDonald's or Starbucks, but it's really not that big a deal. Parking, this proposed space has their own parking. A lot of businesses do not. I don't know if all of those businesses were opposed. I met a friend a few weeks ago at Zentley. She had to park down the street on a side street because they had no dedicated parking. I see they have a sign to park at Heartwood's spot, but she couldn't find any places there. About every night, there's a convenience store around the corner where people are parked illegally. I mean, and I'll see people parking since this. We've had this long vacant spot here where Popeye wants to move in. People will park there. I've seen people park there going to Heartwood. I've seen people park there going to the convenience store around the corner where there's 0 parking. So, I mean, the whole parking issue seems to be kind of a dubious red herring to me because, I'm not seeing that problem living in the neighborhood, living 3 blocks away, driving by and walking by there multiple times a day. I'm not seeing the major issues with traffic in that area. And as far as smells go, I attended a church for 20 years, 150-year-old church in Lakeview. It had 2 fried chicken places, a KFC and an independent place. Never had a problem with smells. I ran a social service agency on Argyle Street in Chicago, and we shared a wall in the same building was a restaurant that had greasy food. For 10 years, we never had a problem with smell. I mean, a lot of the things being raised here are kind of red herrings and speculation. You know, traffic, smells, this and that. You know, the reality is this is a declining street. And if you look at the photos online on Google, you can see that the vacancies are higher now than they were several years ago. So I would say, yes, let's have more businesses in the area. If somebody else wants to move in, that's great, but why haven't they done it? There have been vacancies. There are vacancies there in other places in that
Can you
street.
wrap up?
Okay, so thank you for the committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is David Elsie, I think, and then followed by Deborah Smith, and then Andrea Brzezinski.
Good evening, Commissioners. The first thing I want to say is I think everything's been said. I think that we understand.
You're David, right?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've done that before in front of the council. I'm David Elsie. I live at 838 Hinman, just off of Main Street. And I think it has been said. I think that it's quite obvious that there's a majority of good souls who are really touched by Heartwood. That's clear. I think that there's nothing against entrepreneurial businesses. I would guess that there's something that I would switch to that hasn't been said, which is that I would lift our altitude up a little bit to why are we on the planet at all? Why do we live? Why do you have children? Why are you volunteering in a role that takes your time and energy in a town called Evanston? I'm going to guess something, and I know it's dangerous to make any assumptions, so forgive me. But I would guess that somewhere inside each of you in this commission, your heart wants to contribute to Evanston. You find it a way to contribute to a town you live in. Something calls you to do that. So my proposal here tonight is that other than the very logical and rational conversations that have been going on, which I can't even repeat, but you know, you've heard them all, I would propose that there's something unspoken. And that is that what Popeyes represents is not esoteric, or it represents ill health, physically ill health, high levels of sodium, sugar, saturated fats. It contributes to chronic disease. This is not a debate. And what does chronic disease contribute to? Mental health issues, because we get on medications, et cetera, et cetera. So as a commission and as a town, our hope is that Evanston remains incredibly special for who it is. And so a decision of what food you place in the residences of this town really has far-reaching impacts on why we believe in Evanston. It's not just Popeyes. It's not just another business. It's actually, it represents potential disease, physically, mentally, and even spiritually. Lastly, I would say that I go to Heartwood a lot, and I'm really touched in my heart by a place on the planet and in my own town, not far from me, where I can go be inspired by love and care. And so the last thing I would say is just like the lakes, just the lake and the beaches of Evanston, and the trees, the rich, full trees, why the Native people were here, we really understand. Heartwood and that block, and if there's a way that you can personally go home tonight and put your head on the pillow and feel like something you decided about Evanston was going to contribute to the well-being of human souls, I would really invite you to say no to Popeyes on that weight. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Deborah Smith.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Deborah Smith, and I live at 1019 Simpson Street in Evanston. I landed in Heartwood as a sole practitioner 5 years ago, right kind of at the beginning, or in the middle of the pandemic. Well, not really the middle, 2020 when it started, after I was out of work. All of us were shut down for 4 or 5 months without an income, and just completely grateful and fortuitous that I happened to come to Heartwood. This place is unlike any place I've ever worked before. I've been a therapist, a body worker for 40 years. For 4 decades, the same amount of time that Kareem's family has been involved in Popeyes. In all those 4 decades, I have never been in a place that has as much harmony, serenity, peace. Everybody in the building, all 50 practitioners, there's no tiffs, there is no any hassle with each other. It's an incredible place. And I am not anti-Popeyes. I want Kareem's family to flourish and be successful, but I am against Popeyes at Dempster and Dodge. To have a place like Heartwood be disrupted in any way whatsoever is insane. This place is thriving and supporting community and all of our clients, our patients. And so I ask you, please, to regard this and vote against Popeyes coming into Dempster and Dodge. I have spoken, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Andrea Brzezinski, I think, and then followed by Lisa Meyerson, and then Rachel Gunter. I apologize for, I'm sure I screwed up your name.
It was close. My name's Andrea Brzezowski, and my address is 1631 Washington Street in Evanston. I'm a startup and would be forced to relocate. My background is in nutrition and dietetics, and my office is on the west side of Heartwood. I support a lesser, higher intensity usage space that would make use and build upon Heartwood's existing and growing clientele that can work in conjunction with Heartwood without a furthering need for parking or disturbance to the community that would support the health and healing of the clientele who come through with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, and so forth. I would love to see an expansion of medically focused cooking classes for healing. Food is medicine. And I'll just mention, I recently lost my mom to a medical condition that could have been prevented and a condition that was exacerbated by fast food establishments. Wellness-focused initiatives is preventative health and saves lives. I adamantly oppose Popeyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lisa Meyerson, followed by Rachel Gunther, and then Maria Romero Asti, I think. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa Meyerson, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist at Heartwood Center. I've been practicing in Evanston since 2013 and at Heartwood since 2017. And before that, I worked at Whole Foods. Working at Heartwood gave me the chance to earn a sustainable living in Evanston, and not just a paycheck, but a career that supports me and contributes back to the city. There are about 40 of us or more of us making our livelihoods in that building. We don't just work there. We live in Evanston, shop in Evanston, and keep our dollars in the community. Personally, because I specialize in fertility and prenatal acupuncture, I've also had the privilege of helping build Evanston families. My work quite literally supports the next generation of this city. If this Popeyes is approved, 11 practitioners whose offices are on that side of the building, on the west side, will have to leave. That's 11 fewer small businesses earning and 11 fewer people putting their money back into our local economy, and perhaps the end of Heartwood and the whole community. And it doesn't take an economist to see the irony. Do we really want to trade dozens of steady local paychecks and the kind of care that builds communities for one more corporate franchise? We'd love to see development here that builds on the strengths of Evanston, healthy community-minded businesses that fit with what's already thriving. And on behalf of myself and my colleagues at Heartwood, I ask you to protect the livelihoods we've built here and keep this space working for the people in Evanston and not just a corporation's bottom line. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Rachel Gunther. No? Then how about Maria Romero? Is it? Uspe. Oh, okay, it's a U.
Hi,
My name is Maria Romero Juste, and I've been living in the area for the past 20 years, since I moved here from Spain. Most of the points I was going to make have been made already, so I'm not going to delve on any of that. I just wanted to highlight that as neighbors, we don't look at the corner of Dodge and Dempster as a business opportunity, but an extension of our homes. I implore this committee to vote in the best interest of the community in the light of everything we've heard tonight, and vote yes to Hardwood and no to Popeyes. Thank you.
Next speaker is Dana Waldrop, followed by Arlene Falk, and then Sarah Westbrook. Is Dana here? No. All right, how about Arlene Falk?
Hello, I'm Arlene Falk, and I live in the near north area of Chicago. Many people think I live in Evanston because I have been driving or taking public transportation to Evanston 2 to 4 times a week for the last 26 years. So you can see why. Anyway, I oppose approving Popeyes to locate the franchise on the corner of Dempster and Dodge. A lot of what I wanted to say has been said, so I just want to make a couple points. And that's on revenue and revenue loss. In deciding about a business, any kind of business, there's values, there's community values, there's also a revenue component, but not as easily understood or quantified is the drain that can be a revenue drain. I think it's a real potential here for reasons that have been given. I've been teaching Tai Chi at Hartwood since it first opened in 1999 at the corner of Davis and Maple, and I continue in the current location at 1818 Dempster. The west wall is close to the adjoining property in question. I am concerned about some of the issues brought up that might affect our classroom. Most of all, I have 40 students who are very loyal and come to classes every week from as far away as in the north, from Northbrook to Highland Park, Rogers Park, Andersonville, as well as the adjoining suburbs around Evanston. They not only come for class, but they do shop in the local businesses like Valley's, Zentley Restaurant, Allegra Marketing, the Copy Shop, and others. And I hear people say that they make a trip to do that. So if we do not have a class or have a Hartwood, that potential revenue would be lost. And that I'm only one person with students, and you've heard from others that it would be a number of people and revenue that would be lost. And I understand business. I've worked in a multi-million-dollar corporation for 29 years. So I understand the issues that we go in the value and the people and the community versus the revenue. So you do have to take all that in. But you've heard a lot of good points tonight. And I think that even if we went solely on revenue and revenue loss, the decision is clear that we should have a sustainable option. And there is one, you've heard about it tonight, for a more favorable business that will bring tax revenue and not promote business loss in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sarah Westbrook, followed by Karen Soud, I think, and then Olga Walsh.
Hello, my name is Sarah Westbrook. I live at 1019 Simpson Street. I've been a renter in Evanston for 17 years. I came here to raise my daughter in the good schools that Evanston has to offer, and I've run my business in Evanston for all of that time, and for 29 years in the surrounding area. I'm a certified yoga therapist, and I work with people who come all the way from Highland Park, Skokie, Andersonville, Chicago, all the surrounding suburbs come to me, many with very severe and debilitating chronic conditions, and they're unable to find health care that meets their needs. And so those people, I work in the west side of Hartwood, and I've worked there since the pandemic, and Heartwood became a crucial way for my business to survive through the pandemic, where I watched the majority of my colleagues go out of business. And I would say that most of the people who own businesses, or many of the people who own businesses in Heartwood, are women or minority owned. These are micro businesses that struggle to survive in these changing circumstances. And Popeye's moving in within 5 feet of my business, my yoga studio. I rent 600 square feet in that business. Heartwood moving in, that smell is fundamentally incompatible with me helping people learn how to breathe better, learn how to manage their migraines, their scoliosis, and all of the debilitating issues that people come to me with. I lived in Chicago close to Irving and Clark, and there was a Popeyes, and we would roll up our windows to drive past. The smell is overwhelming. It's a different type of fast food restaurant. So I urge you to take that into strong consideration. I'm already looking for other places to rent. I have to anticipate change. I have to be forward thinking in this. This is a threat to my business. I will move if the Popeyes is approved, and I will be one of the reasons why Heartwood goes under, but I also need to keep my business. And you know where I'm taking my business? Not in Evanston, because it's extremely hard for a micro business to rent 600 square feet of studio space and have that be affordable. Heartwood makes small businesses, micro businesses work. 50 of them. Please don't put us out of business. Thank you.
Okay. The next speaker is Karen, is it Sode? Or Corin? Sorry. I did mess up your name big time. I apologize.
How are you? My name is Karan Sood. I live on the 1400 block of Fowler. I've been a second ward resident since 2004, and I'm speaking out today against the approval of the Popeyes. Myself, I've worked for many years on the west side of Chicago, North Lawndale area. If you know about that area, it's one of the most underserved, low-income areas of Chicago. And one of the biggest criticisms that people have living in North Lawndale is that it's a food desert. There's no healthy food close by. It's all corner stores, gas stations, fast food. Those are only options. But now when I look in my own neighborhood, the intersection of Dempster and Dodge is looking the same way. There's already McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts. We have Rosati's Pizza, Munchie's Corner Store, a Dollar Tree, which sells nothing but junk food, and many more of those kind of establishments on the intersection of Dempster and Dodge. There's no need to add a Popeyes to that. We already know the 2nd Ward and the 5th Ward census tracts in Evanston, they have the lowest life expectancies of any wards, any census tracts in Evanston. Why put a fried chicken spot in the middle of that? Many people, including myself, do not own cars. Many others in the 2nd Ward do not as well, which we see from the large amount of bus routes that go through Dempster and Dodge, large amount of riders that they're getting every day. Where are people supposed to go to eat when everything within walking distance or biking distance is only fast food? There are no other options for us, especially those who are transportation challenged like myself. Evanston talks a lot about equity and caring about all its residents, but it seems like that goes out the window when there's a chance to make tax revenue. Give people in West Evanston a chance to make healthy choices and support local businesses instead of poisoning the community. I strongly urge the commission to give the land to the Heartwood Center instead of the Popeyes. Thank you.
Speaker is Olga Walsh, followed by Joe Inografia.
Let's see. Hi, good evening. My name is Olga Gonzalez Walsh, and I live at 1516 Greenleaf. I used to live on Greenwood, live in Greenleaf. Now I've been here for about 20 years. I moved here for my children, for their education, because I was interested in schools. I have one graduate from ETHS. He's in college now, and I have a senior right now at ETHS. I personally My daughter is a vegetarian. The choices for her to eat, Starbucks, I pack her lunch every day. You know, it's Burger King, McDonald's, and possibly, you know, Popeyes is just not feasible. It's not feasible for us. I really work on providing, you know, having health is super important. And right now, I am a recent renter, a recent practitioner in Heartwood, and I'm really, really grateful to Nancy. I am an art therapist and a counselor, and in trying to establish my practice, I have not had any luck. I didn't have any luck. It was just prohibitive to find any office spaces in downtown Evanston. There's nothing. It was so expensive. As a person of color, I feel that Heartwood provided me with equity, inclusion, the opportunity to grow my business, to grow, and as a therapist and an art therapist, to help others, which I think is extremely important. Heartwood is warm, it's welcoming, it's met me where I'm at, and it's made my dreams of having, you know, being a practitioner possible. If Heartwood closes, don't know what I will do. You know, $1,000 rents, $1,200 rents, it's unsustainable. So please, please consider not approving Popeyes. Thank you.
Joe Ingrafia, and then followed by Corrine Peterson, and then, go ahead.
Hello, I am Joe Ingrafia, and I am a licensed massage therapist at Heartwood. I would like to talk about community. I live at 940 Asbury, so I am about a 10-minute drive from Heartwood and a 10-minute bike ride from Heartwood. I usually ride my bike to Heartwood, and I come down Darrow, and I turn on Dempster, and usually there are people on Dempster that are working at the establishments there, the barber shop, D's snack shop, H&H printing, and they're always waving, they smile, they say hello, and it's nice to see these people outside the establishment. When I'm there at Heartwood, I take lunch and I sit outside and I do the same thing. I say hello to people that walk by Heartwood. So I consider myself a small business owner also, along with the 50 other people at Heartwood that have a small business. So I am opposed to Popeyes. I find it hard for somebody who owns several Popeyes and doesn't live in Evanston, that they're going to hang out in front of their business and say hello to people and say hi. So, and another thing, biking into Evanston, when I bike into Chicago from Evanston and I bike down Custer south, and I come over the bridge and I'm about 2 blocks away from Howard, I can smell Popeyes before I even see Popeyes. So I know it's there and I know it does smell, and it would impact the business at Heartwood. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Corinne Peterson? Corinne Peterson? Okay. If you have a mic, we'll get you a mic. Here, we'll hand you one. Here.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, good then. So,
yeah.
My name is Corinne Peterson. Until a couple of years ago, I was an active clay sculptor. I was introduced to Heartwood about 15 years ago by a friend who was grieving her son's death. She had found in Heartwood a place to be with her grief. I went to be with her, and I went to be with myself. I had much pain within myself to understand and heal from. I wondered if this could be the sort of group I had always longed for, in which I felt safe and in which I could express deep questions and struggles, among others, also searching for truth. On Friday nights, I learned to meditate and learned much about the Buddha, including that he loves questions. I learned the Buddha taught that all people's deepest self is compassion, love, light, and wisdom. And when that's not what you see in a person, it's because other things have covered it over. That fact literally changed my life. To not think of myself as mainly bad and trying to be better, but instead that light and love is there. It inspired me to lead a clay project in which many attendees were from Evanston, but also there were 550 who attended. And they made things that dealt with trauma and healing that trauma. I just have to say that I would never have had the courage to do that project, which did help so many people with their trauma, if it had not been that I'd been at Heartwood. I learned to live in a kinder, wiser place in relationship with both myself and others. And now I attend a Sunday group taught by Nancy and Larry. It's an ongoing source of awareness, wisdom, and kindness for myself and others who attend. And I will cross over any impediment to my getting here in order to experience that refreshment to my life. It would be a deep, deep, deep loss to me and to countless others if Heartwood was no longer available. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Agras Larson Reed, followed by, it looks like Chandler Rosehart, and Michaela Lord of Nova.
Hello, my name is Elle. I live on Sherman and Seward. I'm a sophomore at ETHS, and as a young person who walks past Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Subway, and Burger King daily, I think it is horrible that we're trying to make another fast food place in the area. Many students go down in the city of Evanston to eat food for lunch, and their options are limited to unhealthy foods. These options are not good for our health or well-being as young people. One second. As a young person who believes in eating healthy foods and the importance of healthy foods being provided for Black and brown youth, I think that it is only right for a local business we're here instead of a nasty Popeyes. This is already an issue as students go to the closest food around them during lunch, and in case there are already enough unhealthy food surrounded us as students. If there is a food business able to be here, let's provide a healthy and accessible one for our youth instead. Let's have a choice for our food, a healthier choice. Say no to Popeyes and yes to a healthier food choice. Thank you for your time, and free Palestine.
Okay, next speaker is Chandler Rosehart, Not sure, I'm sure I'm messing this name up as well. No, Chandler? How about Michaela Lordanova?
My name is Michaela Jordanova, and I live on Colfax and Brown in Evanston. I think I'm the perfect person to say something because I'm the last one, and I'm neutral. I'm not part of Heartwood, and the topic is new to me. I just learned about it a week ago. I'm even surprised that there is a topic, so surprised. My daughter used to study in high school, Evanston, and I was very concerned about the concentration of fast food places because I grew up in Bulgaria, and in Bulgaria we had no fast food. We had no obesity, and I never realized that after fulfilling my dream to come to America, the place of freedom, so many people have so many diseases. So I was very concerned. And I was very happy that in high school, my daughter, she had a teacher who taught nutrition and taught her and her friends not to eat fast food. I think everything was said. High cholesterol, bad fat, high sodium, everything is bad about fast food, and we should not, in my opinion, promote more fast food places, as we will not start allowing gambling in our city. Gambling is addictive, and Evanston didn't allow gambling in the city, as fast food is also addictive. And I would like to finish with this, that we need to think, are we making our city a better place? In 1985, one of the best singers got together and they wrote the song. I forgot the name, but the song was, "We are the world, we are the people. Let's make the world a better place." Are we making the world a better place with having a Popeye on the corner? That's everything we need to think of, I think.
Thank you. And unfortunately, I do have one more sheet of names, so we'll continue. Javoid Simmons, followed by Darlene Cannon.
We also have our online attendees as well.
I know, I have. But we're going to go through the list, and then we'll get the two. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Darlene Cannon, Second Ward. Good evening, Land Use Commissioners. My name is Darlene Cannon. I'm a lifelong Second Ward resident, lifelong Evanstonian. And I'm here to voice strong opposition to the proposed Popeyes at Dempster and Dodge. This project directly conflicts with the E-Plan, which prioritizes reducing health disparities among Black and Browns versus our white counterparts. To be considering yet another fast food restaurant in this area shows blatant disregard for the E-Plan findings. The Dempster Dodge area is already a community disappropriately impacted by food swamp types, and that further exacerbates to illnesses such as diabetes and heart disease. Adding another fast food chain will only deepen these disparities instead of helping us close the health gap. Beyond health, this intersection is already congested and unsafe. A high-volume chain restaurant will bring even more traffic and parking issues, putting drivers and pedestrians at greater risk. We must also consider sanitation. This area already struggles with rodent infestation, made worse by the oversaturation of fast food restaurants. Approving another national chain here will only add to these problems. Finally, there has been troubling lack of transparency. Small businesses are the backbone of Evanston, and they have been shut out of the process while a corporate chain is being prioritized. Evanston deserves restaurants that promote health, equity, and sustainability, not projects that the harm that is caused by Popeyes. I urge you to reject this proposal. Also, I just want to say, as a lifelong Second Ward person, I would appreciate if our city staff acted in a more balanced way and were in an objective way, and not make it seem more clear that they've already chosen sides. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to just go back. Is Javoid Simons in the room? He's not. Okay, thank you. And then Vanessa Kaufman, followed by Lynn Fuller. No? Okay, then how about Alicia Pullitt? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Lynn Fuller. I live near the Robert Crown Center.
Okay.
Sorry. As a resident and community member of Evanston, I appreciate the opportunity to voice my opinion. I'm opposed to a Popeyes franchise moving into the space at 1826 Dempster Street. My views are in no way an indictment of the personal choices of my neighbors, but I would like to see healthier options in the Second Ward. Much like the city of Evanston provides a network of bike lanes for the safety of its residents, but doesn't require the usage, I'd like to see it back healthy dining options, also for the safety of its residents from a nutritional standpoint. I'm in support of Evanston's small business owners moving into 1826 Dempster Street. I'd also like to see the space designed to support pop-ups for nascent small businesses on a rotating basis, similar to the Hartwood Center's support for local artists, which I personally benefit from and can speak to the additional opportunities the exposure provides. As an example of a pop-up, Miraz Franklin, an Evanston resident, comes to mind. She's a pastry chef at and general manager of Who's Your Mama at 749 Chicago Avenue, and she's also in the process of starting her own pastry business, but isn't ready to operate her own storefront. Being able to participate in a pop-up will provide small business owners with exposure, experience, and community feedback before launching full scale. And I feel like Hartwood Center would be supportive of actuating this. Experience in a supportive environment could also benefit ETHS students with entrepreneurial leanings. In that vein, I realize it's a tall order, but I'd be interested in having a poll run to learn ETHS students' thoughts on how to best utilize the space, especially since the location is central to many of the students' routes, and they should have a voice in what merchant options are available to them. I'm continuously astonished by the initiative of the youth and think their voices should be heard because, when given the opportunity, they know what their community needs to thrive. Cookies for Compost comes to mind, which was a program started by ETHS senior Maya Ruthin that provided free composting services to Evanston residents and used cookies as an incentive for sustainability actions. It continues to this day and is run by Collective Resource. All that to say, I would like to see the empty space used to support the health and business goals of Evanston residents versus another fast food franchise. Thank you.
Next speaker is Alicia Pullitt, then Lisa Applegate, and Rebecca Shakaris. Rikas.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Pullitt. I am an Evanston resident, and I have been a member of the Hartwood community for the past 4 years. Joining in the weekly study, spiritual practice, and meditation, and receiving Hartwood's diverse health services, and having art openings and exhibitions in their space. Hartwood has been a vital refuge in my life, and I'm here out of concern for its future. Popeye's proximity to the Hartwood is going to have an adverse effect on Hartwood's business and its survival with the environmental impacts already emphasized. Having yet another corporate fast food place would also be going against what makes Evanston unique, healthy, and wholesome. I urge the Commission to protect the small, local, thriving establishment that adds not just economical, but also social, cultural, and overall health value to its neighborhood and broader community, and I ask you to consider other options that Hartwood and other members of the community have already proposed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Lisa Applegate.
Hi, my name is Lisa Applegate. I live at 1210 Dewey Avenue. I want to thank you all so much for staying this long. I'm sure you're exhausted, but you can see the passion that so many of the neighbors and practitioners feel about this space. I will yield most of my time, but I am the neighbor of Steve, the gentleman who is here, who supported Popeyes. And he is one of my favorite neighbors, but I just want to point out that the traffic is a real problem. My daughter walks to high school. I too walk my dogs. We go to the Pet Supplies Plus, and it feels very unsafe a lot of the time. I'm very concerned that having 10 parking spaces is not going to be enough for the in and out traffic that's going to happen with all of those drivers picking up orders. And I also want to note that I was a member of the Heartwood community before it came into this building. And I've lived there for 15 years. I saw how Heartwood has transformed that area. It's taken a lot of time, but they were instrumental in getting Kurt's Cafe there. They were instrumental in getting Zently there. They have reshaped some of the housing there into safe housing that feels comfortable to walk by. They are key in this community, and so I just want to respectfully challenge the idea that this isn't going to have an impact on our community. It will. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next up is Rebecca Sharikas. I'm sorry.
Hi, good evening, and thank you also for your patience and for listening to us. My name is Rebecca Sharikas, and I live with my family at 1825 Crane Street, which is within 500 feet of the proposed Popeyes location. I'm also an active member of the Heartwood Buddhist Sangha, or community. I joined Heartwood's freely offered meditation classes several years ago to learn more about meditation. What I found was a welcoming and socially engaged community that has anchored me and others in difficult times. My family has also benefited from the therapeutic services offered by Heartwood's practitioners. Heartwood is one of the reasons that the West Village neighborhood is a great place to live, and I am deeply concerned about the negative cumulative impact of Popeyes opening right next door to it. Heartwood transformed what had been a foreclosed building at 1818 Dempster into a peaceful haven, a healing space that serves a variety of community needs that you've heard about tonight. I just want to share one story that hasn't been told. You'll recall that just over a year ago, multiple shootings took place near Dempster and Dodge within a short time span. Our neighborhood was shaken and scared, especially because of all the high school students that pass by that corner every day. But Heartwood joined with other faith communities and local officials to organize a peace and prayer vigil on the corner to help neighbors connect and heal. Afterwards, Heartwood offered free therapy and bodywork services to community members experiencing trauma. This is just one of the many examples of how Heartwood has a positive cumulative impact on this neighborhood and beyond. Heartwood staff and practitioners spend much of their time and energy supporting others. Now is a time that we need to support them. I urge the Land Use Commission to deny the Popeyes special use application so that Heartwood and all its practitioners can continue to thrive, and so that Heartwood can move forward with its proposal to bring a locally owned business with healthy food options into the space. Thank you again so much.
Thank you. Our last two speakers that I have on my list are online speakers. So if you can help with that. The first one is Tara Ledoux, which I believe is there.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. My name is Tara Ledoux. I'm an Evanston resident. I live on the south side by Elmwood and Oakton. I'm a practitioner who works on the west side of Heartwood. I would need to relocate my business if Popeyes was to take over the building next door due to noise and odor. I also understand the financial challenges to Heartwood because I'm also co-director of Heartwood. If Popeyes is approved, many of our practitioners will leave, as you've heard, and this will be financially devastating for Heartwood. This will endanger my job. So I ask you, please say no to this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And the last speaker I have signed up is Tricia Conley. Is she still in the Zoom? Okay. All right. Is there anyone that I missed that had signed up to speak? Okay.
I didn't sign up, but I have to take the stand for a minute?
I
didn't know I was supposed to.
Yeah, if you can kind of, come sign the sheet and then you'll be our last speaker.
That's fine.
And then you'll have 3 minutes and.
I don't just need a minute.
Okay, that'll be great. So just give us your, all right, thank you.
My name is William Holloway. I'm the owner of 1800 Dempster, within the 500 square feet, or 500 feet of where the proposed Popeyes is. Heartwood has been a friend and a neighbor of ours for the last 15 years. We've been in Evanston since 1970, so 55 years our business has operated. The loss of Heartwood would be great. It would be grand. I mean, a terrible situation. One of my additional concerns that you all need to concern or take into consideration is the infrastructure of the area. Rarely the day goes by that trucks, cars, and traffic in the rear of the building, which Kareem had indicated would be his delivery methods for his semis or large trucks from Cisco. Rarely does a day go by that can pass through that alley clearly. It's not maintained in the wintertime. It's not maintained in the summertime. The city doesn't do their job maintaining that. So something has to be considered if that were to be approved. Hopefully it's not, but if that were to be approved, that all has to be considered to take that into account, as well as the road, the grease traps, the garbage hauling. All of that has to go in the alley, and there's not enough space in that alley to allow that, given the fact that specs cars exit there. I'm kind of winging this. As specs cars exit at that exact spot, if a truck were to stop and deliver, that's going to impede his business. The tobacco shop on the Dodge side of that building has cars parking in the alley consistently. And they shouldn't be. There are no parking signs, but the police doesn't have the ability to enforce that on a regular basis. So these are some of the infrastructure things that need to be taken into consideration if, in your deliberations of approval or not approval of this Popeyes. I don't think it's good for a business of that nature that's going to generate a lot of additional traffic, both in the Dempster and Dodge corridor, and there have been a numerous number of accidents on Dempster, not related to Popeyes, and I'm not anything against Popeyes because I do like the food, but it's to have additional traffic coming through there may be or will create an additional problem and potentially more accidents. So consider that on your voting, and I ask you to vote against that for more, just for the traffic versions and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Just very, very briefly, I neglected to make a request that I meant to, and that gentleman reminded me and some of the others for a full traffic engineering study to be performed before the special use is heard before the Planning and Development Committee. And that was the only request I wanted to make.
Okay. That is not, I believe that's not a requirement for a special use application, so.
Noted.
But thank you for. All right, that concludes the public testimony. Next up is the applicant. Would you like to?
Can we just take like a 10-minute break? And just, is that okay? Just stretch our legs.
we'll ask the applicant to make his closing statement, and feel free to respond to any of the concerns that have been raised by members of the public. So we'll convene at 10:15. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you again. I appreciate everyone's comments and feedback. Honestly, it was really good to hear about all the positive things that the Hartwood Group is doing for the community. You know, you read online, but you don't get a full sense of like the impact that they have, and so it was really beautiful to hear the stories. And again, as I mentioned during one of our the council meetings, you know, our intention when we looked at this location was nothing but positive. We thought that this was a location that had other food and restaurant locations on it. We thought it would be a natural fit here, being on the corner. We also never intended this to be, you know, pick Popeyes or, you know, destroy the neighborhood type of thing. Those thoughts never even entered our mind. It was just to provide another food option in an area that's known for food. You know, I think as several people have, you know, mentioned, this space was vacant for on and off for quite some time. You know, and no one took advantage of that opportunity. We happened to see it vacant. It had been vacant, and so we thought we would put something forward that, you know, we thought would be positive, with the intention to, you know, do good things for the neighborhood. I think that's really, you know, I think some of the other comments mentioned by the attorney that I wanted to call out was, we had mentioned before, maybe you know, they missed it, but we said we would not be using styrofoam. So just wanted to make sure, because they said that we were. We also, I'm trying to think what else we had here. We did not do a traffic engineering study because we're occupying an existing building, an existing lot, and, you know, taking over an existing space. So we're not creating a drive-through. Typically, those are done when you're changing the type of use on the property, specifically usually when you do a drive-through. But the reason we decided to do an inline was to really try to minimize that, and same thing with the reducing the seats. So I just wanted to again say thank you for your time, and to all the people who contributed and commented. So thank you.
Okay. Does any commissioner have any other questions for the applicant at this point? I kind of have two just quick ones, just because, you know, the odor came up a lot, and what assurances can you provide that there will be none, or can you?
Yeah, I mean, typical fast food places, there's always something produced, but the intention of the building that we build is usually a type 1 type hood, which is commonly used at airports and places that are even enclosed. And so they usually do a pretty good job of containing that, as long as they're serviced. So, you know, our intention was to follow suit with that type of system to ensure that, you know, we give it the best chance to provide protection for any kind of contamination.
Okay, and then I guess the other question, the last speaker who was talking about the delivery trucks in the alley and the conflict with the car wash. Have you considered that really or not really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in the special use requirements, it was stated that we could not do it during peak hours, to make sure that it would have to be done deliveries would have to be done during off-peak times. And again, it's once a week, and we'd have to coordinate with the delivery company to make sure that it would be, you know, done with minimizing impact.
Okay, thank you. Since no one has any other things, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now close the record for public testimony. So the next point is deliberations of the commission. And I think one of the things I'd like to make sure that we focus on are the standards that, the special use standards that we have to consider. While we had a lot of, you know, testimony about, you know, the need for healthy food and that, really, the Popeyes menu versus, a healthier food option is really not among the standards. So I think I'd like to focus on what we do need to focus on rather than operational, what the menu would be, for example. So thoughts on this project? Just general, and then we'll go through the standards.
I have thoughts, Jean. Can I ask a quick question of staff? So I understand that there's a West Village business district in Evanston, but is there a formal West Village business association? And forgive me if I've missed it in the packet, but is there a formal comment on behalf of that entire association submitted?
Testimony is closed, so staff can respond.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I understand the representatives of it, but we don't have something from like that formal association on behalf of the entire association submitted.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. That would have been helpful, but anyway. Okay, so my thoughts are there's a lot of competing values, I think, in this case. On one hand, I think the Popeyes is a natural fit for the corner because it's a C1 district. We're trying to fill a vacancy, and everything seems to look fine on paper. I agree. Thank you for saying what you said earlier, Jean, about the health considerations. It's really kind of outside of our scope for tonight. If Evanston, for example, had like a healthy eating ordinance, right, then we would have something like in our commission would have a basis for judging, the quality of food of establishments, in the city. But that doesn't exist, and that's not. I don't believe that's our purview. So on one hand, I want to support new businesses. I want to support filling vacancies, especially in a thriving, business district as intended. However, I think it's also our role here in the commission to consider the wider context. And on that end, I have more hesitation. That intersection just already has become problematic. I'm going to have a kid learning to drive next year, and I'm going to tell him, in addition to all the normal things a parent would tell a kid, like, there's two particular places in Evanston I want him to be careful. One is with the substandard lane widths on Ridge. They're just tricky. And I'm also going to tell him that corner is one he has to be aware of. Personally, I know when I drive through that intersection, I can feel my heightened sense of awareness just perk up because I know that the Starbucks line often is spilling out onto the street. That reduction from 2 lanes to 1 going eastbound causes cars to have to quickly make decisions. It's a busy one. In addition to all of the other curb cuts in stores right there. The particular corner in question has 2 curb cuts right there on the corner, and I am concerned about the increased amount of traffic, not from a congestion perspective, but more just from a safety perspective. I'm concerned that not only from additional people going in, additional patrons of the restaurant would add to the amount of traffic, but in particular those third party like Uber Eats, Grubhub kind of people, they're motivated by speed because they're making money by the number of deliveries they can make. So to have those kinds of people operating right there on the corner with 2 curb cuts just seems dangerous to me. Also, the ETHS kids it's a huge commuting space for them before and after school, going up and down Dodge. There's a bike lane right there, going right past that curb cut, and I have a hard time getting over increasing the danger at that intersection when we know it's already problematic. We had a case similar to this a number of years ago up on Central Grosse Pointe in Crawford, and people talked a lot about how that intersection was crazy, even though it's one I don't experience personally. And someone wanted to add a daycare center like right on that corner. And at the time, we decided that was, even though they had a right, you know, although a lot of things made sense to put a daycare center in there, just that location was just the wrong solution for that application. And that's kind of how I feel tonight. I wish the applicant like lots of success in his business and to finding a good place for Popeyes. I love Popeyes, but I think the location is wrong. For that application, and that's the broader context that I'm and the conclusion I'm coming to.
Commissioner Berlin?
So that's super interesting. Can I ask you a question then? Are we allowed to ask? We can ask each other questions, right?
We can ask
not
each
to put
other,
you on this.
and we can ask staff questions.
It's a little bit putting you on the spot, but I think traffic, if traffic is concerned, I think that raises the question, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. It raises the question, like, so what goes there? I mean, the alternative vision of a locally owned, you know, the food hall, it is sit down, so it's lower frequency, but it's still going, unless they're not going to use, and this is all theoretical because we can say everything, but there's no paperwork right behind it. It sounds like a great idea, but like, what would you put there that would not raise concerns, these concerns? Because even a sit-down restaurant uses Grubhub. I mean, most of them do, right? So what would be an appropriate use? Its strength is its weakness as a location. Its strength is that it's at a major intersection, and that's why it would work. And its weakness is that it's at a major intersection, and that's why you're concerned, right? So how do we use a space like that? Not a specific, but I'm just trying to understand, is everything that comes going to bring a concern like this for that piece of land, you know?
I think that would be a primary concern for me for anything going in that space, yeah. I'd have to think about other creative options. I have to imagine they exist. But yeah, that's my concern.
Commissioner Mabadi?
So that building's an interesting building. It's had, I think, predatory tenants in there with subprime lending, subprime insurance. It kind of preys on the market, and those are the kind of tenants you can get in a building like that without lots of traffic. You know, those tenants don't have, you know, people running in, 12 times a day to get their high expensive, low quality auto insurance. So it's a different kind of a tenant profile, and I don't really think it's the responsibility of this commission to decide what would be an appropriate use for that space, to hypothesize what that is, because the world is your oyster when it comes to that. There's a lot of things that could go in there. A bike shop could go in there. A Pilates studio could go in there. I mean, I could go on and name places that could go in there that have nothing to do with whether or not we should be approving this candidate's request. I look at the, sorry, my laptop closed. I look at there's these tests, and I think some of the people, my fellow commissioners, will find it a little amusing that I'm focusing on the nine tests, the nine standards for approval, and I just see that standard 3 and item 3 and 4, it doesn't meet it. So I think it does cause a negative cumulative effect on the area, and I think it does affect and diminish the quality of property values in the area. So, when we talk about, well, Burger King's there, McDonald's is there, Starbucks is there, I've experienced that street, the congestion from McDonald's, more so from Starbucks. Burger King, not so much. They're not doing the business they used to do, I guess. But one of the things about all of those buildings is they're freestanding buildings that are distanced from their neighbors. They're not sitting on top of another. So there is ability to tolerate some of the challenges of odor because there's room for it to dissipate. It's not like you're up against a apartment building or up against a facility like this. And so it does have a negative effect on the property. I believe it does. So for that reason, I would be a hard no on this too.
Commissioner Merichev?
I will join some of my colleagues. This property is very specific, and once again, I will point about traffic and parking. For me, this parking is both a gift and a curse. I have to tell you, I was going there relatively often years ago when it was PLS. And I've seen people taking the left turn from the parking out on both Dempster and Dodge. And now with the added bike path on Dodge and the bus stop on the Dodge and Dempster, it's really dangerous. So on the other hand, it's existing, but this makes the choice for what kind of use we can have in the empty building very important. And personally, no matter even if there is a traffic study or parking study, I don't think that a restaurant type 2 will be a good pick for this place. I really doubt it, and I'm afraid of really bad happenings with the traffic and with exit and entrance to this parking, once again, that I consider gift and a curse. So a better choice will be, like some of my colleagues mentioned, something that does not need so frequent traffic in and out of this parking. And besides, with the unknown of the empty part of the property, this makes my suspicion of improper use of the parking and the traffic even more. It's a kind of an unknown thing that bothers me. So I don't think this is the proper use of this space on this location for a restaurant type 2 with frequent traffic in and out.
Commissioner Harris-Burry?
Yeah, I drive through this intersection multiple times a day, so maybe I'm desensitized to it, but I think the main issue I see there is left turns out of restaurants. That can be very hard on that street and within that intersection. So I'm wondering, like others have said, no matter what goes in here, there's really no fix to the traffic, to the parking. That will always be considered. There's no really solving that, but I wonder if not allowing left turns in or out of this corner would alleviate some of this concern and some of these issues that others are stating.
Well, one of the things I would agree that, right in, right out ultimately might be a desired thing, whichever use goes in. I think my concern really is, going through both the standards and then the proposed conditions, is whether or not the conditions are such that they really would solve the issues of noise, smell, and really kind of the loading delivery that, which even with the proposed use that, that was, the alternate food use that was, that some of the opponents proposed, you're still going to have those delivery issues. So you're not mitigating those necessarily. So whatever goes in, those issues are going to probably come right back to us for consideration. So, and the question is, then will become, is a alternate use going to have less traffic than a Popeyes? So I think that we have to, we've had certainly a lot of testimony from Heartwood, saying that their center will be negatively impacted. The question is, is there a world in which you can guarantee that odor won't be a problem? Right. And I don't know that we can. So while, I came this evening being, kind of in favor of the Popeyes, I'm not sure that I think that the conditions that we could impose or recommend would be sufficient to overcome the potential challenges. So at this point, I'm kind of leaning toward being a no as well. And, I think what's important is that, we do have a viable use, and I certainly think a Popeyes is far preferable than the payday loan stores that were there, before. So, I think it's a positive use. But, again, I'm like Commissioner Merichev, I'm concerned about not knowing, what the use of the second space would be, and what the parking impacts of that are going to be. And I guess it comes down to, do we think that Popeyes is going to be generating a lot more DoorDash and other delivery services than some other use? And we can't, our charge is to focus on this particular application and the application of the standards. And it's not our place to be speculating on what might go there instead. So I think.
Yeah, I'm also much more conflicted than I felt coming into it this evening. I guess I want to say a couple of things. I've only been on the Land Use Commission 6 months, so this may be, what I'm about to say may just be a standard thing that happens. But we are potentially denying an application for something that is allowed. I mean, it's a C1. It is zoned for this activity. Is that how this works sometimes? We say it's zoned for this activity, but we just have these concerns anyway, so we're just, okay, that's helpful. The other thing I want to say, and I mean no disrespect to anyone, any members of the Heartwood community, because it sounds like a really wonderful place, and I completely recognize the contributions, and it's been an incredible turnout and support. But one, if we are saying as a commission that we have a concern with anything that brings in traffic through DoorDash and all of these third parties, that means then this alternative vision would potentially have many of the same problems. Yes, it would be locally owned. Yes, it would be healthier food. I really don't think it's the place of the Land Use Commission to comment on the quality of the food. But we would then need to be consistent. And so I would want to make sure that Heartwood is not misled that we would approve something else when the food changes necessarily, right? And then the other thing I do want to say, and this is where I guess I mean no disrespect. I just want to put it on public record, and everyone can think I'm a jerk for it. But hopefully you won't. The narrative we've received this evening is that this very beloved institution will be forced to leave if this other thing happens. And I would like to think there could be a conversation there where if this other thing were to happen, we could also still maintain this beloved thing. And I do a lot of yoga, or I did until recently, and I got injured. And I understand the concerns around the noise. I understand the concerns around the smell. My yoga studio is by a train line. So I'm not saying there's necessarily an easy fix, and I'm not saying there's an inexpensive fix. But is there a world where, like, some of the studios on the west side move to the east side, and the administrative offices take the west side? I don't know. Is there a world where we ask for, like, the world's biggest hood if we ever put a restaurant in there? Like, I'm just saying it's unfortunate that it doesn't seem like there's a room to try to come up with something where we put something in there someday that maybe Heartwood doesn't like, and Heartwood is able to stay. So I would just encourage everyone in the room to think expansively about if there might be some room to do some of that. because I think community is also about having lots of different things involved. So I just want to go on record as saying that.
I'd like to say, just with respect to the uses, this type 2 restaurants are administrative review uses, which means that for the most part, you're asking for the same kind of conditions that apply. You've got to pick up the trash. I think that the odors and the kind of hood, that's a building code requirement rather than zoning. But there are certain, kind of routine conditions that would apply, and often, homegrown, locally owned fast food, or fast casual, or whatever we're calling them these days, versus a chain franchise, the standards need to be the same. So I would think that if a locally owned standard comes through, that special use you probably should come back to the commission, because the issues are going to be the same. And I think that whether Heartwood is sponsoring this or somebody else is, I think, again, for consistency, I would encourage staff that if a proposal should come through, if it's a type 2. Somebody wants to do a type 1 restaurant that's permitted, and those would not come to us. So I think maybe if staff wants to kind of weigh in a little to amplify on what I've tried to say inarticulately, that would be great.
Yeah, no, we can absolutely take your direction with that. And yeah, to your point, I mean, really by the code, the biggest difference between the two and really about type 2 restaurants is really, the code doesn't talk anything about, healthy food or chain restaurants or anything to that. It really kind of emphasizes that those restaurants potentially are going to have a bigger environmental impact. There's going to be more litter, potentially some other impacts if there's a drive-through component or not. But to your point, a type 1 restaurant here is a permitted use by right. So I'm just looking at the list, but like brew pubs, a catering company, food store establishments, financial institutions, like the office uses. Those are all just some other examples of uses that would just be approved as by right uses without an administrative review use or a special use review by this body.
Commissioner Harris-Faree?
Yeah, I just think in that, I agree that there needs to be a middle ground between if another business comes in, this organization will have to leave. I'm just not seeing that correlation, and I think I would see it more clearly if this was the only fast food place going in this area. The odor doesn't magically stop across Dempster. It doesn't not cross Dempster, right? That whole area has an odor, for better or for worse. And I think any food establishment in this place will emit an odor of some kind, no matter what they're cooking. And so I do think we're setting a precedent that if we say this food establishment will cause an odor that will be detrimental to the area and traffic that will be detrimental, then we're setting a precedent that pretty much that applies to most food establishments. And I think we just need to think about that as we take this vote.
So I have a little different view or different take on that. I think that we have to consider the context of the space and the location of that space is relative to the neighbors. If we're not setting an actual numerical precedent. If you're X amount of feet from your neighbor, then you can't do this use. I mean, we're not doing that. We're saying that when this is coming to us as a special use, we have to consider the context of this. And to me, the context is that there are several challenges that this particular typology or this use is going to have on the surrounding area. We have a traffic issue. We have a parking issue. We have a delivery offloading issue. I mean, these are issues that we talk about all the time on these other projects that are coming through here. We're talking about, do we have proper access? So these are real issues for this use. Frankly, I'm surprised that the applicant was going after this site. It seems like a very difficult site to put a successful fast food restaurant, partly because of the curse and the benefit of the traffic. If this had been like just a little bit further up the road, on a bigger lot, you probably would have been able to pull, I would have approved a drive-through on the, on a special use, because we already have demonstrated that, and we're not applying any harm to anybody that's immediately adjacent to you by doing that. But in this case, there is a harm being created to specs. There's a harm being created to
Heartwood.
Heartwood. I want to say Heartland so badly. Heartwood. Sorry. And then you have the question of traffic, which you have the students, you have the bikers, bicyclists. We shouldn't call them bikers. They're bicyclists, cyclists. And then we have just the challenge of traffic that my fellow commissioners are talking about, cars coming out and not paying attention on a congested area. These are all valid reasons beyond just saying we're setting a precedent because of the odor. I mean, the odor is an aspect, but it's an aspect relative to its proximity to the next guy. That is the one thing that is more significant to me than just saying, well, everything has odors. I mean, we do have odors, but anyway, that's a tough corner, odor-wise.
Yeah. I have a question for staff, and it's really kind of what kind are you aware of any nuisance complaints that have been made for any of the other fast food restaurants in the immediate vicinity? I mean, they're not as close to residential, granted, but.
Yeah, no, none that I'm aware of. And in general, regardless of this corner, I'm not aware of any across Evanston.
Okay.
That have been reported, I should say.
Yes. Okay. All right. I think then the other question comes in. We've got a list of conditions that staff has suggested for these, and I'm trying to figure out what the sequence should be in terms of going through the standards and then looking at the conditions versus looking at the conditions and then going through the standards. Because the question with the conditions is, will these conditions make it possible to say that the standards are met or not? So kind of, if somebody can kind of suggest a sequence for discussion.
Can I offer a sequence there? So,
Yes.
My expectation this evening is going to be making a motion in the positive form to recommend approvals in light of our following best practices, to make a motion in the positive that will also include all of the department recommendations. And right now is the time when, if there's any commissioner who feels like they need to add a condition in order to get themselves to yes, then they should be adding that condition now.
Well, I don't know that it will get me to yes, but kind of.
That's okay. That's okay.
But in light of the 605 Davis discussion, I think that there are a couple of conditions. One of which would be the condition that the HVAC system be set up or be such that there are no odors emanating from the property. I think what was the suggested language.
But I just want to be clear that
Yeah, but it's not going to get me.
based on what we learned about that other case, like you're mentioning, additional conditions should be added if commissioner feels like that is getting them to vote yes, right?
Or it's something you want the city council to consider. That was the other.
Could we have some clarification on
Yes,
this?
I mean, that really is kind of like how. Yeah, essentially,
That's an option, to approve it in case it passes.
right.
That's what they do, not us.
That's what we did, that's what we did for 605 Davis.
Oh, and we weren't supposed to do that.
I don't know if we were or not, so if you could clarify what we are allowed to consider, or how we should consider.
We'd ask the commission to
condition.
just consider amendments that would get them to yes.
Only, okay. All right, well. All right. So are we ready to go through the standards? I guess. All right, standard, first standard is, it's one of the special uses specifically listed in the zoning ordinance. Type 2 restaurants are listed as an administrative review use. And as noted, that section of the zoning code 6-3-5-16 allows the zoning administrator to defer to the special use process, which was done in this case. So that standard is met. It is in keeping with the purposes and policies of the adopted comprehensive general plan and zoning ordinance as amended from time to time. A new type 2 restaurant will activate another otherwise vacant building. It also is consistent with the zoning for that which allows commercial uses. So that standard is met. Number 3, will not cause a negative cumulative impact when its impact is considered in conjunction with the cumulative effect of various special uses of all types in the immediate neighborhood and the effect of the proposed type of special use on the city as a whole. This, I think, based on our discussion, the standard is not met. While there are a number of other special uses in the area, one of the issues with this particular one is the location next to the Hartwood Center and the nature of that business. While there is not a drive-through associated with this, there's also significant traffic that, as noted, the curb cuts are such that that traffic pattern may be exacerbated. Am I missing anything else that is wrong with other reasons why this particular standard is not met? Okay. Does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. While this proposal will activate a vacant building, we've had considerable testimony on the potential impact on the Hartwood Center, although I would note that potential impact is somewhat speculative because we don't know, the extent to which the Popeyes odor and noise issue would be a problem. But I think that we have had testimony. We haven't had any testimony that said it would increase the value of property. Number 5, it can be adequately served by public facilities and services. This standard is met. It's an existing building. So it presumably is already served by the appropriate public facilities. Number 6, it does not cause undue traffic congestion. While there is no drive-through, which would clearly be a bigger issue, any use is going to increase the use of that corner. So I think that this standard, I would argue the standard is met because whatever use goes in, whether it's a permitted use or a special use, is going to generate traffic, and this business, there have been businesses operating in this facility for a number of years. that I don't know that it's necessarily going to it may make it worse than it is right now, but there have been businesses that have operated and generated traffic in the past, so I believe that standard is met. It preserves significant historical and architectural resources. The building is not historically significant, so this standard is not applicable. It preserves significant natural and environmental features. There are nothing particularly significant on the site. The landscaping actually could use some improvement, but there's very little of that to begin with. So this standard really is not applicable. It complies with all other applicable regulations of the district in which it is located and other applicable ordinances, except to the extent that such regulations have been modified through the plan development process or a grant of a variation. The proposal complies, complies with other applicable regulations, although I would note that, in going through the standards, there are a number of conditions that were recommended by staff for this project as well. So I don't know if your motion, so are people in agreement with my findings of the standards? Anything to add?
I disagree on the traffic congestion.
Okay, you think that is not met?
I think that this type of restaurants, type 2 restaurants, require significantly more traffic, and in this case, this is not good.
Okay, so there's disagreement on whether or not standard 6 does not cause undue traffic is met or not met. Any other concerns? Okay.
Explain your reasoning again on number 3. It will not cause a negative if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because I thought one of the points you brought up in number 3 was traffic, so I just want to hear.
Will not cause a negative cumulative impact. I think I believe that the standard is not met really because there are, a number of other special uses in the area, but in particular, I think it damages the adjacent property, or it potentially has a negative cumulative impact on the adjacent property because the other special uses that were cited are much farther away, or not somewhat farther away. Everyone in agreement with the findings? Now, I would note that, in order for us to recommend approval, we need to find that all of the standards have been met to vote in favor, just as a reminder. So I guess at that point, I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, so in keeping with our best practice of making motions in the affirmative so that it's all clear what we're voting for, I'm going to make the following motion. In the case of the special use for a type 2 restaurant for Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, 1826-1830 Dempster Street, case 25ZMJV-0041. I move that we make a positive recommendation to City Council to approve that special use, inclusive of all of the department recommendations on page 56 of the packet.
Is there a second? Okay, Ms. Jones, would you take the roll? All
right. Putting things up. All right, Commissioner Aravallo?
No.
Commissioner... Apologies, my laptop is not cooperating right now. Okay, here we go. Commissioner Berlin?
No.
Commissioner Harris-Ferry,
No.
Commissioner Mabadi,
No.
Commissioner Bonenchev,
No.
Commissioner Pucktall,
No.
and Chair Lindwall.
No. Okay, with, what is it? With seven voting against the motion fails, and a negative recommendation will go to the city council. And I would note that this matter does go to the city council. We just make a recommendation, so I think that concludes this case. Okay, next up on our agenda, do we have communications?
We do. So you may be aware that the city released the draft Housing for All strategic housing plan that was released on Friday, September 12th. And that's basically the city's first dedicated housing strategy and will serve as the guiding framework for the next 10 years and set up a clear vision for how Evanston will meet its housing needs. And as part of that process, the city hired development planning partners to help craft the housing gap analysis that's specific to Evanston, and that provided additional information for the creation.
We still have some agenda items, so if you can leave. Okay.
Okay.
So we can hear.
All right, so yes, Housing for All draft was released. The city worked with development planning partners to create the gap analysis for Evanston that's specific to Evanston, and that provided some additional information for the creation of the Housing for All draft. We are intending to bring discussion of that draft to this commission at our next meeting on October 8th. And Housing and Community Development will discuss all of the feedback that it receives at its October 21st meeting after reviewing all of the public input, because we are in a period where we are taking that public input now. The Housing and Community Development Committee will review the plan and recommend a final version to the City Council for adoption sometime later this year. So, as I mentioned, we are accepting feedback now through October 12th, and we've got online forms, both in English and Spanish, available online. Paper copies are also available at our community centers. We're also hosting drop-in hours that are available to anyone who would like to fill out a paper copy or ask questions about the plan. And for a list of all of those community centers and the drop-in dates, you can also visit the City of Evanston's webpage. There is a page that is specific for Housing for All. Actually, I will say that out loud in case anyone is still listening. It's cityofevanston.org /housing 4 all. The Housing for All draft, the Housing Gap Analysis Report by Planning Development Partners, and information about the process are also available on that page. And if you've got any questions, you can email housing@cityofevanston.org.
Just a question, are you looking for, if we have a discussion in our next meeting, are you looking for maybe a kind of a group response from the Land Use Commission? So if we can do that. I have not read the whole, the plan, but I did go through the background material, and it's really a good read. So I would suggest that you read both the Housing for All plan and then also the
gap analysis.
The gap analysis, because I think it was very useful information.
Yeah, and we can follow up with the commission and provide you all with links that Megan mentioned, just so that you can prepare in advance of the meeting, because it is, it's another planning document with lots of policies recommended. But we are welcoming any feedback that the Land Use Commission has, especially given your experience working on Envision Evanston 2045.
Well, just to be clear on expectations, like, are we supposed to like mark it up the way we marked the comp plan, or it's more? Just,
No, I
okay.
think it's just a conversation that you all can have at your next meeting. And then if there is kind of general consensus and the chair would like to take that feedback and maybe distill it down into a letter on behalf of the commission, not to put you on the spot, Chair, but that's
yeah, we could
absolutely,
probably-
that's
I would do-
absolutely welcome. In addition, you can go and provide your individual commissioner feedback via the feedback form if you'd rather go that route after you have your discussion at your next meeting.
Or we can do both.
Or you can do both,
you can,
yes.
You can make your comments, and we can have a discussion, and I think a discussion would be real useful, so we can kind of actually discuss things for a change. And I believe that there's also some thought about, actually looking at our rules or at least talking through kind of how we handle the public hearings, so we're clear on the votes and the motions and whatever else we need to.
Yeah, we can
discuss.
include a discussion item at the next commission as well on your rules and procedures. So if there's anything that, in your recent experience that you'd like to have staff consider bringing back for a later meeting, incorporating some edits into your rules and procedures, just to clarify how you want to conduct business moving forward, we're also open to adding that if the commission would like.
I think that would be useful, and I think it would probably be useful to at least give us a rough outline of what sorts of topics we should discuss. Just in a simple memo would be great, because I don't believe we have any cases to hear at the next meeting, do we, or do we?
That is correct. There are no cases scheduled for the first meeting in October. And just circling back to Housing for All, we are looking for kind of the focus on the policies that are laid out, the strategies that are laid out as part of the plan, and how, those might be prioritized. Because it does include a whole suite of different strategies. But as you know, certain strategies, we can't do everything, I guess is what I'm saying. So any feedback that you'd have on how those might be prioritized would be a good focus as you're reviewing the draft.
If you all are going to send links, would you mind just like saying that one sentence in the email? I don't feel like
100%.
I'm like processing.
That's totally fair. It's 11:05. I get it.
Thank you.
Liz,
And
what
then
do
if
you
we
think-
fill out the form, is that like a public comment type thing? Like all the forms are posted to the website, or how does that work?
Correct. Yeah, we'll be collecting feedback, as Megan said, through October 12th. All of that will be compiled and then presented to the Housing and Community Development Committee at their October meeting. So your input will be part of a suite of, the hundreds of feedback touch points we've already received on that topic.
Liz, when do you think we'll get those links?
We can probably send them out tomorrow.
Okay.
Probably by noon,
That's
because it's late.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, do we have any member of the public who wants to talk? All right, we need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.